He used to be the most feared man on the streets, a one-man army who dismantled the city's deadliest gang alone. But today, Han is being smashed into a desk by a random rich kid while the whole class laughs. 2 years ago, Han crushed the Nexus gang and its leader, Ono. But Ono didn't use his fists to fight back. He used his billions. He sued Han into poverty, forcing Han's father to sell his own gym just to keep his son out of a cage. Han promised his father he'd never throw another punch again. Until today, a mysterious benefactor just offered Han more money than his family has seen in a lifetime to do one thing: return to the era of violence and finish Ono for good. Everyone who's been using Han as a punching bag is about to realize the monster didn't disappear. He was just waiting for a reason to wake up. The weight of that promise is a heavy burden to carry, especially when the person standing over you is a bottom feeder like Director Choi. In his past life, Han would have crushed a parasitic clown like this in seconds, but now he is forced to swallow his pride and play the part of the submissive victim. Choi runs the school like a cutthroat business, selling overpriced junk online and forcing helpless students to buy into his schemes. To the rest of class, Choi is hot stuff. A teenage mogul bragging about making $48,000 in a single month, while his sycophants drool over his success. To Han, he is just another reason to keep his head down for now. But there's one problem. Han didn't buy the garbage Choi ordered him to buy. So naturally, Choi decides it's time to remind everyone who's in charge. He beats Han like a punching bag right there in the classroom. Han just takes it, doesn't even flinch. A girl named Na-eun tries to stop it, worried the teachers might see, but Choi just laughs. He's already paid them off. Teachers, students, everyone has a price tag in his world. The worst part? Choi knows exactly what he's doing. He stares at Han's face, looking for that rage, that killer instinct still buried inside. And it's there. Han wants to destroy him, but he can't. Because in this world, if you're poor, even winning means losing. Fast forward to today. Even random thugs know Han's name. They see him as an easy target now. A fallen king. One of them, wearing a Nesu ring, decides to test him. Han could snap this guy like a twig, but instead he just stands there and takes the beating. The thug laughs, calling him weak, pathetic, a sellout who betrayed his own father. That's the line. Han grabs the guy's leg mid-kick, pure rage flashing in his eyes. For a second, the thug sees it. The beast is still there, but then Han lets go and apologizes. The thug freaks out and grabs a wooden plank, beating Han until every piece of wood in the alley is shattered. Han just lies there, motionless, while the thugs walk away laughing. But someone's watching. A man named Junho. He's confused. Why would someone as strong as Han just lie there and take it? Is he planning to sue them? Or is he just that scared of the legal fees? Junho walks up and makes an offer Han can't refuse. He pulls out a massive stack of cash and says, "If money's the problem, I'll cover everything. Lawyer fees, hospital bills, whatever you need. Or if you don't want to sue, just beat them up and use this to pay the damages." Then he asks the real question. If someone had your back, how long would it take you to teach those guys a lesson? Han stares at him. "Who are you?" Junho smiles. "Just a guy who wants to cut off the head of a certain scumbag named Ono." He continues, "If you want details, first deal with those losers still hanging around. We'll talk about me later." The thugs, meanwhile, see the cash and their eyes light up like headlights. They turn back, thinking they're about to get paid, but what they get instead is a world of pain. Han moves like lightning. One punch. That's all it takes. The first guy goes flying like a kite with a broken string. His buddies turn pale. Han calmly answers Junho's earlier question. 4 seconds, that's all I need. The remaining two try to beg for mercy, but Han's already done talking. In less than 4 seconds, all three are laid out on the ground, exactly as promised. Junho decides it's time to reveal who he is. He's the youngest entrepreneur ever honored by the Korean government, a billionaire who could make millions just by sneezing. He apologizes for looking like a typical rich jerk, but then says, "Compared to Ono, I'm a saint." Ono is the one who destroyed Han's life. He turned countless students into living nightmares. But if you look at the news, Ono's life is perfect. He's a pro gamer now. Handsome, talented, loved by everyone. It's disgusting. Behind the scenes, Ono still runs a gang of thugs who terrorize students. Anyone who fights back gets crushed with money and lawsuits, just like Han. Some even end up mentally broken. Junho could easily destroy Ono's reputation with a single phone call, but that's not enough. He wants to use Ono's own methods against him. Dirty, cruel, and absolutely ruthless. He wants to grind Ono's entire existence into dust. Junho will pay for everything. Legal fees, living expenses, even rebuilding Han's father's gym. All he needs is Han's fists to tear apart Ono's world. That's why he came looking for him. Han's curious. Why do you hate Ono so much? Junho doesn't answer. You'll find out soon enough. One thing's clear, Junho has money. Han needs to fight to survive, and they both have the same enemy. There's no reason to refuse. Back at school, Director Choi is still terrorizing students, forcing them to buy his junk. But starting today, everything changes. Choi believes money is everything. Respect, relationships, quality of life, it all revolves around cash. With money, he can own the world. But then Han's fist connects with his face. The entire class freezes. Choi's perfect little world shatters in an instant under the weight of someone he always underestimated. 2 years ago, Choi was just an arrogant punk who thought he was invincible. Then he met Han. The moment he witnessed Han's monstrous strength, reality hit him like ice water. He realized Han wasn't even human. He was a beast. But then Ono sued Han and financially destroyed him. That's when Choi saw the light. Money is power. With money, you can control everything. Choi started a business, forcing students to buy overpriced garbage. He thought he'd become the hunter, and Han was his prey. But now, as Han's fists rain down on him, Choi can't understand what went wrong. He tries to fight back, but gets kneed in the face so hard he nearly passes out. A nobody with no money just humiliated him in front of everyone, including the girls. Choi's classmates are recording and laughing. He's never felt this pathetic in his life. But then Choi pulls out his phone and threatens to sue. Do you even have the money to pay for assault? Want to go back to your old life? But times have changed. Threatening Han with lawsuits now just earns him more punches. Every hit is bone-crushing. 1 punch makes him dizzy. 2 punches destroy his face. Choi can't take it anymore. He scrambles away on all fours, desperate to escape. While running, he comes up with a plan. He just needs to hire someone strong. That's when he thinks of Sigon, a bodybuilder who'll do anything for cash. Choi finds him and offers 1 million. But Sigon, sensing desperation, doubles the price. Choi has no choice but to agree. He's sure Sigon can send Han to the hospital with 1 punch. But when Han shows up, he just pulls out cash and hands it to Sigon. Take this and step aside. I've got business with Choi. Money changes hands. Sigon immediately switches sides and lets Han walk past. Choi's betrayed to his face. Now he's got no choice but to face his worst nightmare. And predictably, he gets absolutely destroyed. Later, both of them are called to the principal's office. The principal tries to lecture Han about violence, conveniently ignoring Choi's crimes. Choi's smirking, thinking his bribes finally paid off. But then Han punches Choi right in front of the principal. The old man tries to stop him, but Han doesn't care. He keeps swinging. That's when Big On arrives. He's a lawyer from one of the top 3 law firms in the country. The principal's face goes pale just hearing the name. In minutes, everything's resolved. The principal bows and apologizes to Han, then expels Choi on the spot. Junho's satisfied. Choi kept harassing Han, so this is the price. As for the principal, controlling him was easy. The old man's done plenty of shady things, so a few subtle threats and he became as obedient as a trained dog. Junho calculated everything. If Choi gets sent to juvenile detention, Han can move more freely. And if Choi goes down, the principal's going with him for embezzling school funds. Junho asks, so, how does it feel? Are you happy? After all those years of suffering, do you feel grateful to me? Han admits he's grateful, but only a little. Junho laughs. No problem. There'll be plenty of chances to show your gratitude. The most important thing now is you, Han. You're going to help me settle the blood debt with that bastard Kim Ono. Elsewhere, Choi's fuming. He got expelled in front of a girl he liked, and he'd already bribed the principal heavily. Getting humiliated by Han in front of everyone feels like the ultimate insult. He can't let this go. He'll make Han disappear. The next morning, Choi heads to BM Building, a place that handles dirty work. A blonde guy greets him like a VIP. Inside, Sigon's getting beaten like a stray dog. Next to him is Songjin, the gang leader who approves all contracts. When Choi walks in, Songjin greets him warmly. Well, our esteemed guest came in person. Sigon realizes Choi's the one who got him into this mess, but before he can finish cursing, Songjin's guys drag him away. Choi's impressed by their professionalism. Songjin's surprised. This is the first time Choi came here in person. So what's the job? Choi's request is much bigger this time. Songjin's intrigued. How big? Choi answers coldly. 10 million. That's how much I'm willing to pay. The blonde guy's eyes light up like flashlights, begging his boss to take the deal. But Songjin smacks him with a baseball bat. He's a veteran. He knows if someone's offering 10 million, the target isn't ordinary. When Choi says the name Hanjun, Songjin's attitude shifts. He looks at Choi suspiciously. Are you insane? 10 million to take down someone like Han is way too cheap. Han isn't someone you can handle with normal methods. If Choi thinks otherwise, he's delusional. Choi's forced to raise the offer. I'll pay 10 million up front. If you succeed, I'll pay double. 20 million total. That's the number Sungjin wanted to hear. 20 million. A job too good to pass up. He agrees without hesitation. At an old house in the city, Junho steps inside. This used to be his family's home before everything fell apart. He hasn't been here in years. Inside, nothing's changed, but his parents are gone. His father used to love fried chicken. So did Junho, but for 2 years, he hasn't touched it. Thinking about the past 2 years, painful memories flood back. But the past is the past. It's time to leave and focus on preparing revenge for his family's blood debt. He can't let himself get dragged down by dark memories anymore. As he walks out, Bigon's waiting outside with updates on Choi. Junho nods, unfazed. He already expected this and has a plan ready. At Han's apartment complex, his father just got a new job at a gym with an incredibly generous salary. Overjoyed, he immediately tells his son. Han smiles and congratulates him, pretending he doesn't know he's the one who secretly arranged everything. He doesn't want his father to know what he's been doing, but seeing that smile return to his face makes Han feel genuinely relieved. As Han's about to head to the gym, Junho calls. He warns Han that Che hired hitmen targeting him directly. Junho's asked him to call him if they show up. Han told him that wouldn't be necessary, since they were here already. The moment they meet, Sungjin greets him casually, but before Han can respond, a car comes speeding toward him. The blonde driver thinks he's about to earn 10 million easily, but reality doesn't work that way. In a split second, after recognizing the danger, Han doesn't retreat. He charges straight at the car like he's offering himself up. The move shocks everyone, even the blonde driver. He panics, thinking Han's insane for ramming into a car headfirst. Instinctively, he swerves to avoid him. Han appears to get hit and flies backward, landing on his head, motionless like he's unconscious. Sungjin's guys breathe a sigh of relief, thinking their prey's down. But only Sungjin notices something's wrong. Han's clearly not hurt at all. Witnessing someone stand up after a direct car collision, the gang starts feeling uneasy, especially since Han's now furious for getting ambushed. Though just hit by a car, Sungjin can clearly sense Han's still got plenty of energy. However, that doesn't mean he's completely uninjured. But it's also not smart to face someone like Han head on. Just then, people from the apartment complex start talking about the car accident. Using that as an excuse, Sungjin orders his guys to retreat. He thinks he can just leave peacefully and even politely says goodbye. See you later, Han. But life's not that easy. You think you can just show up and leave whenever you want? Not letting the enemy escape so easily, Han activates full sprint mode, charging straight at the moving car. Seeing that, the gang members laugh mockingly, acting all superior, chasing a car on foot, but reality hits hard. They barely finish their taunts before turning pale, watching Han catch up to the car in seconds. Unexpectedly, Han throws a punch that shatters the window, grabbing one of the guys who just mocked him. Even though the car's moving at high speed, Han pulls him out like he's taking out trash. Witnessing that, the gang members go pale. Only Sungjin keeps his cold expression, calmly ordering them to keep driving. Though slightly dissatisfied about abandoning a teammate, no one dares argue with the boss's orders. They immediately leave the unlucky guy behind and speed away. After getting yanked out of the car, it takes a moment for the guy to regain consciousness. Meanwhile, Han's been standing there waiting. He coldly asks, "Where did your little gang crawl off to?" The guy acts tough. I don't know where they went." Han gently strokes his cheek. No words needed. His attitude makes it crystal clear. If you don't cooperate, you're getting beaten. The guy stubbornly resists, challenging him. "Let's see if you can make me talk." Without hesitation, Han unleashes a punch like thunder. With his terrifying strength, he's determined to force the information out. At the thug's hideout, Sungjin's guys, despite just running for their lives, celebrate like they just won a glorious victory. Contrasting their cheerful mood, Choi's furious. He can't understand why they're celebrating when they came back empty-handed. Voice full of frustration, he yells, "What kind of operation was that? You all went to catch one guy and came back with nothing. You already took the money up front, but the job's not done. More importantly, what's your plan if Han tracks us down here?" Getting called out to his face, while the gang members break into cold sweats, Sungjin remains strangely calm. He fully understands Choi's concerns, but Sungjin doesn't believe Han would be reckless enough to walk straight into his den alone. To him, a hot-headed kid getting worked up over something this trivial isn't worth worrying about. You use a knife to kill chickens, and a butcher's blade for oxen. But now, Choi's given Sungjin the task of catching a tiger with broken glass shards. Pressing the sharp glass against Choi's face, Sungjin mocks him. There's no knife in the world that can catch a tiger. Killing it is one thing, but capturing it alive is already impossible. However, since ancient times, people have always had ways to catch tigers, and the method's actually very simple. According to Sungjin, all you need is a pack of hunting dogs. Tigers are temperamental creatures who prefer peace and quiet. Just let them get bitten and harassed by dogs for a month or two, and they'll collapse from exhaustion and die on their own. That's exactly Sungjin and his gang's strategy. This time, he declares he'll finish Han using the most brutal method possible. But what Sungjin didn't expect happened. The tiger he wanted to hunt, just voluntarily, walked straight into the hunting dog's den. The metal entrance door has been warped by someone, making Sungjin's gang turn pale. The sound of metal being pounded echoes continuously. The door shakes violently like it's about to explode. Unable to just stand and watch, Sungjin orders his guys to check the situation. At first, the blonde thought it was just someone messing around. But the moment he sees Han's silhouette behind the door, he goes pale and screams, "It's him! It's Han!" The gang immediately panics, but Sungjin stays calm. He believes even if it's Han, breaking through that steel door is impossible. Just leave him there and he'll give up eventually. Sure enough, after a while, the door goes silent. The blonde immediately gets cocky. Guess that's all he's got. Probably got scared when he saw us. But before he can finish, he freezes. An arm reaches through the third floor railing. It's Han's arm. Quick as lightning, Han leaps through the window and lands right in the middle of the room, in front of everyone's horrified eyes. Han's sudden appearance stuns Sungjin. The third floor isn't somewhere ordinary people can easily climb, but for Han, just his bare hands are enough. Like a wild beast, Han charges into the crowd and beats everyone to a pulp without breaking a sweat. When a tiger doesn't roar, people think it's a sick cat. Sungjin's gang, despite their numbers, no one dares rush forward. Han boldly declares, "Your grandpa here will take all of you on." Faced with his overwhelming presence, the gang members start trembling. The most worried is Che, who felt uneasy from the start. But looking at Sungjin's still calm face, he feels somewhat reassured. Choi thinks back. Sungjin's crew handled Sigon, a gym guy, pretty easily. So those who just got dropped probably just got ambushed. Once Sungjin and his boys get serious, Choi believes they'll easily beat Han. But Sungjin can't hold back anymore. He roars, "You dare barge in here? Attack him!" The first guy charges like he's about to feast, but the moment he gets close, Han kicks his leg until it snaps, then grabs his leg and throws him like a sack of rice. The second tries a sneak attack, thinking he's clever, but Han dodges smoothly. Before he can recover, Han grabs him and slams him hard into the floor. Another one down. Same old trick. One falls, another jumps in for a cheap shot. But Han's no amateur. He's got the skill to handle every dirty tactic. But when enemies suddenly grab his legs, Han takes a baseball bat hit from the blonde. Thinking they finally got the troublemaker, the blonde's shocked when he looks back at the bat in his hands. But then there's no after that. For his stupid move, the blonde gets sent flying straight down 3 floors by Han. The moment he hits the ground on his back is exactly when Junho's people arrive. But it's not some muscular guy. It's a beautiful girl wearing a very dirty safety helmet. Thinking he just arrived in heaven, the blonde's eyes light up seeing her. When the girl approaches asking about Han's location, he immediately confesses everything. Not only that, mesmerized by her dreamlike beauty, he even boldly asks for her number. But she doesn't have a number to give, so the lady gifts the silly boy a gentle tap with her helmet. After getting the necessary information, Han quickly contacts Junho, reporting that Han's destroying some building. However, when Junho asks specifically where Han is, she starts beating around the bush. There are 2 new bags that just came out. I don't know which one to buy. I'm really torn. Knowing Han's raising the price, Junho just accepts it. Fine, I'll transfer money for both. Hearing that, Han's delighted. She immediately provides Han's location. At the 3rd floor room, in just a short time, Han's cleaned out all of Sungjin's lackeys. Not only that, Choi also got properly disciplined for being disrespectful. Seeing the situation's decided, Sungjin starts weaseling, quickly apologizing to Han and voluntarily surrendering. He thinks Han hasn't finished him off, because he still needs him. So as long as Han speaks up, whether it's money or anything else, Sungjin's willing to comply to satisfy him. But he's completely wrong. Han doesn't need anything from Sungjin. On the contrary, at this moment, Han only has one thought: beat him to death. With no other option, Sungjin desperately fights back by swinging his baseball bat. But with such a huge strength gap, that strikes no different from a piece of rebar. Instead, Sungjin gets slammed straight into the wall by Han like a bag of ice. Then he has to accept his fate as a punching bag getting hit mercilessly. The sound of punches echoes throughout the room, terrifying the homeowner. He's scared, but thinking about his house getting destroyed, he gathers all his courage and pleads, "Please stop." Hearing that, Han feels guilty for accidentally damaging a civilian's home. He stops. The homeowner, tears streaming, both angry and helpless. "I don't know who you are, but if you want to fight, go outside. I'm already suffering living alone. My house got occupied by thugs as their hangout, and now someone's destroying everything. Right then, Junho arrives. The moment he steps into the room, the first thing that hits his eyes is a total mess. Before he can question what his partner did here, the homeowner stops him. Whoever broke my house needs to pay. But for Junho, compensation's a small matter. He smiles. However much, I'll pay double. Knowing he met someone generous, the homeowner seizes the opportunity. Then let me have a light 10 million as capital. So when he receives 50 million from Junho, his attitude immediately does a 180. He smiles bright as sunshine. You two feel free to keep fighting. I can even clean up the scene if you want. As for Sungjin, he never expected Han to be this insanely strong. Realizing he never had a chance from the start, he tries escaping through the window. Thinking he escaped disaster, fate hasn't let him go. He still can't avoid the 80-second tribulation of his life. Han clearly still has plenty to discuss with him. Feeling that getting pulled back inside might mean getting beaten so badly even his parents won't recognize him, Sungjin pulls out a knife and stabs at Han's hand. But people craftier than him are everywhere back home. Before getting stabbed, Han quickly releases him, thinking he escaped cleanly. But when he realizes he's free falling from the 3rd floor of an apartment building, it's too late for regrets. It's kind of pitiful, but whatever. Han lets him land on his soul. Despite the brutal back impact, Sungjin struggles to crawl away. Standing upstairs observing, Junho can't help but admire his intense survival instinct. Seeing the boss already fled, one of Sungjin's gang members loudly mocks them. Han and Junho, you guys are total idiots, bringing disaster upon yourselves. Not understanding what this guy's barking about, Han and Junho look at each other, confused. He explains, we're just errand runners doing odd jobs. The person you dared touch is Sungjin, son of the chairman of Higan Corporation. He lifts his chin arrogantly. He's rich enough to make you two disappear without leaving a trace. Crossing Sungjin means your life's over. Sounds pretty scary. But to Junho, that corporation's name isn't unfamiliar, and he doesn't feel the need to panic at all. Elsewhere in the city, Sungjin drags his injured body back to his father. Hidong, chairman of Higan Corporation, almost doesn't recognize his son looking like a floor rag after so long. He approaches asking what happened, but instead of explaining everything, Sungjin just wants his father to go kill 2 people. About to scold him for being so unreasonable, old Hidong told him that there is no going back after this. Is he sure he wants to do this? Sungjin affirms. Old Hidong's slightly startled by his son's attitude and asks, what happened that's this serious? Sungjin answers, I got beaten by 2 nobodies like a dog. Hearing this, instead of getting angry, Hidong laughs. Good, you finally grew up, after all these years away from home. However, he also reminds him that if you want someone's help, you need to show sincerity and determination. If you hesitate or act weak, nobody will want to help you. Just think about what you truly want, and only when you're willing to sacrifice everything will I help. Enlightened, Sungjin immediately changes his attitude. He raises his head and decisively proposes, Father, I won't sleep tonight until I see them dead. Seeing his son finally looking like a proper member of the family, Hidong nods with satisfaction. He immediately calls his underlings to prepare 2 steel barrels. I have to teach those punks a lesson for touching my treasure. Quick as lightning, Hidong and 500 armed men went straight to the meeting point, an abandoned area where Junho's waiting. With such massive backup and overwhelming momentum, it looks like Hidong's planning to devour his opponents alive. The moment they meet, he raises his voice. Seems like you little brats are eager to say goodbye to this world, but Junho doesn't want to die early. He calmly responds, if we die, who's going to handle business for your corporation, Mr. Dong? Hearing the familiar voice, and seeing the somewhat familiar face, old Hidong suddenly goes pale when he realizes the person in front of him is none other than Chairman Junho himself, someone who could make his entire corporation collapse in an instant. While things were peaceful, his idiot son just had to stick his head into a hornet's nest. Before Hidong can recover, the next nightmare hits him. A call from a subordinate reports that all their second-half business deals have been cancelled. According to internal sources, though the reason's unclear, the person who directly cancelled these orders is none other than Chairman Junho, the very person he was about to eliminate. If he doesn't do something now, his corporation might not even have land left to stand on. Immediately, Hidong humbles himself and bows in apology, begging Junho to show mercy. But his subordinates haven't grasped the situation yet and keep yelling like idiots. To save his life, Hidong quickly turns and barks orders at the fools to shut up. Seeing his opponent knows his place, Junho softens his tone and suggests, have your men leave the scene. Immediately after the crowd gets in their cars and leaves, Haidong switches to begging mode again. With the current situation, if he can't restore those year-end deals, his company will face a serious crisis. Haidong desperately begs Junho for forgiveness this time. But how can he forgive? Though Junho doesn't like making things difficult, he needs to maintain his corporation's image, especially when the partner is a father of a literal gangster. Hearing that, Haidong quickly proposes he'll send his son Sungjin to Dagestan and promises he'll never return to play thug again. But currently getting beaten until his face is deformed, and hearing his father planning to export him overseas, Sungjin voices his objection. But stupid people shouldn't argue. Before his rebellious son's astonished eyes, old Haidong swings his hand and slaps him repeatedly until he shuts up. The heartwarming scene between father and son makes even Junho laugh. Truly, when faced with money, old Haidong doesn't give a damn about father-son affection. Feeling the joke's gone far enough, Junho tells him to stop. To him, exporting Sungjin abroad won't solve anything. Instead, Junho has a more effective education method. If Haidong agrees to follow his words, the contracts will be kept. Here's the thing. Junho just spent 50 million compensating a civilian whose house got destroyed, all because of your son. To Junho, 50 million is nothing, but to ordinary people, it's a massive amount. So he wants Sungjin to work and build his own business to earn money and pay back that debt. Hearing this, Haidong looks doubtful. My son earning 50 million? Junho smiles. Aren't you a seaman? With your exceptional business skills? Getting him a position that can recoup the investment isn't difficult at all. As for Sungjin, that's the price he must pay for messing with the wrong person. The very next day, old Haidong designed a grand venture for his son. Thinking he'd be assigned some cool mission, Sungjin nearly cries when he learns he's being sent to fish. Back at Junho's headquarters, Han can't help but admire his partner's devilish nature. But to Junho, that's still nothing. According to him, neither of them are running charities. So from now on, Han can't get involved in money troubles or injuries anymore. Hearing that, Han quickly objects. I'm not injured. But the scrape on the back of his neck betrays him without mercy. Sehun immediately speaks up mockingly. Still trying to act tough after that? Meeting for the first time, Junho takes the opportunity to introduce them. Han, this is Sehun. She's the new partner who'll coordinate with you to take down Nesu. She's a famous influencer on Instagram. But for our purposes, she's going to be your little bird. She'll be the informer providing all the whispers and information you need during the operation. Han blinks in total confusion. A little bird? What in the 7 kingdoms is that? Am I supposed to feed her breadcrumbs while she tweets at the enemy? Hearing that sounds a bit grating on the ears, Sehun immediately objects that she simply met some punks and got hired. Nothing major at all. She's also a bit surprised by her partner's appearance. She thought he'd be ugly, but unexpectedly, he's more handsome than expected. Seeing Sehun starting to joke around too much, Junho has to speak up and tell her to stop. However, with her trolling nature ingrained in her blood, Sehun responds by raising a middle finger toward the big boss. Though really wanting to expose her true nature, since he can't compete with Sehun's sharp tongue, Junho just has to endure. Getting straight to the point, Junho reveals the reason he called Sehun today is to discuss upcoming plans. Hearing that, Sehun's surprised because according to her understanding, the plan to let Han find them and punch them one by one. Even so, with Nesu's current scale, Han alone can't handle everything. That's why Junho is planning to form a team including people with good fighting ability. And the first candidate he's targeting is a student from Deong High School. The moment he hears a name connected to Nesu at Deong School, Han immediately guesses it's Kim Donghui. Indeed, Junho's also targeting Donghui, the person who once fought alongside Han in the battle against Nesu. Donghui used to be Deong School's leader, but after the leg injury 2 years ago, he can't even walk normally. Therefore, Han doesn't agree with dragging his old comrade into this trouble. However, Junho already knows that situation well. Even so, they still desperately need Donghui for the upcoming plan. Those words make Han's brain hurt because it goes against the working principles he's always maintained. But Junho's someone who always clearly distinguishes between emotions and work. He thinks Han doesn't need to be too tense in the current situation. At the same time, it's your chance to make up with him while crushing all the Nezu members in that school. At Daeong School, information about Director Che being sent to juvenile detention has quickly spread to the influential players. If he's forced to confess everything, the whole gang won't have opportunities to make money anymore. This incident causes an uproar among the school thugs, especially when the person who pushed him into detention is none other than Han, the guy who once lost a lawsuit to Nesu. Hearing that familiar name, Kim Woong-chan, the school's leader, immediately speaks up. As a Nesu member, he and his crew can't believe someone who chose to live peacefully like Han would act so two-faced. The surprise doesn't stop there. A panicked student runs over reporting that Han just transferred to study at Deyong School. The news hits like a slap, shocking Wung Chun and his crew. After all, this is his territory, so Han, coming alone to their turf, makes Chun find it insanely interesting. As for Han, right during his very first introduction, he declares bluntly, "I came here to beat all of you up." The atmosphere immediately becomes tense. The students below simultaneously tighten their faces, mentally preparing for the incoming storm. Unlike many others, having clashed and lived with delinquent students for years, the teacher's actually quite comfortable with Han's arrogant declaration. So very quickly after that, Han gets assigned a seat in the back corner of the class. Everything seems to pass smoothly, but clearly the students aren't too fond of Han. Even so, they only dare sneak glances, and nobody dares open their mouth, because saying one wrong word might earn them an instant beating. Unlike the others, Gumin, the 12th ranked member of Kichun's gang, doesn't know the meaning of fear. Though his boss warned him not to touch Han, when he sees him in person, his blood boils, wanting to provoke him immediately. However, this isn't Han's first time getting provoked, so he doesn't give a damn about that Gumin guy. Instead, he just scans the entire classroom. Getting ignored, Gumin can't hold back and lightly strokes Han's cheek to assert dominance, then immediately gets sent flying. With one simple but affectionate strike, Han sends him to the scoreboard. The students in class witnessing that scene just lower their heads, not daring to say a word. Why would they? If he's in a bad mood and someone speaks up, the whole class might get wrecked. Elsewhere, quite far from Deyong School, Sehun's hesitating whether to bring Donghui into the team. There are still many people out there who are both strong and stable, so she doesn't understand why Junho insists on choosing Donghui at all costs. According to Sehun, their group isn't a charity organization, so Junho's decision is truly difficult to understand. But faced with her objections, Junho just smiles gently. He says, when thinking of Donghui, the first thing that comes to his mind is perseverance. Though not possessing an outstanding physique, Donghui once fought Nesu purely through persistence and courage. However, according to Junho, things that are too rigid break easily because they lack flexibility. The contradiction in Junho's words makes Sehun even more puzzled about why they're recruiting a disabled person onto the team. But that's exactly what Junho wants to emphasize. He believes someone who's been shattered can't return to their original state, but they'll become sharper than ever. That's exactly the weapon the whole group needs to tear down a giant like Nesu. Back at Deyong School, after class, Han leisurely strolls around, observing the hallways and classrooms. Though clearly aware he's being watched by students, he still acts very calm. And right when he's about to go find trouble, trouble appears on its own. Donghui, who once ranked number 1 at Deyong School, now looks truly pathetic. Han can't believe his old comrade has become an errand boy, treated no different than a stray dog. With his injured leg, Donghui can't move quickly, but the thug still makes him run errands like normal. Even when his companions mention Donghui's leg isn't okay, that guy still casually beats him for taking so long to get him his snack bar. Though witnessing his old friend getting tormented, Han still maintains a calm appearance, not showing a single sign of anger. Back at Junho's headquarters, though already understanding why Junho chose Donghui, Sehun still thinks he's not easy to cooperate with. According to her, if everything can be solved with money, it'd be much easier. However, if Donghui could be bought with money, everything would be too simple for Junho already. According to what he knows, back then Donghui was determined to fight Nesu not for himself, but only for Han, the friend who dared stand up and fight against evil. Many people might find this hard to understand. Who gets themselves beaten up for someone else to the point of breaking their own leg? But Junho recognized something in Donghui. He's the type who always sees his friend's pain as his own pain. If you get hit, he'll readily stand up and fight as if he's the one taking the blows. Therefore, Junho believes sooner or later Han will bring Donghui back to the path of fighting. At Deyong School, after getting beaten black and blue, Donghui finds a secluded corner to smoke and relieve stress. But right then, even his lighter seems to mock him, refusing to light, making him even more frustrated. When you've hit rock bottom, you unexpectedly meet someone from the past. Donghui's expression isn't happy at all. Though Han greeted him politely, Donghui maintains a guarded attitude. He knows clearly Han didn't transfer here to study, but to cause trouble. Though trying to act cold, Donghui still speaks up, advising Han not to act impulsively. According to what he witnessed, Nesu organization has grown much stronger than before. They have enough money and manpower, things Han can hardly touch. Donghui thinks both of them already failed once, and it'd be better if everything ended here. But Han remains firm with the path he chose. He's convinced that, though they once fell, in the upcoming battle they'll achieve victory. Sounds pretty spirited, but empty words have no meaning to Donghui. If back then he thought he'd lose, he wouldn't have fought. It's precisely that naive thinking that turned Donghui into a cripple today. So to him, Han's assertions have no value whatsoever. Understanding Donghui's emotions and what he's been through, Han doesn't argue further. He just says, "I'll prove it to you." On an upper floor observing, Kichun's wondering what Han's calculating. Seeing Han only walking with a crippled guy, he can't help but laugh mockingly. After determining the opponent's just an idiot delusional about his strength, Wung Chun immediately orders his subordinates to prepare to send Han to the next life. At a clinic near the school, though the doctor encouraged and advised Donghui to get surgery as soon as possible to thoroughly treat the injury, financial problems are a huge burden for him. Knowing the longer he waits, the harder his leg is to treat, he can only thank the doctor and quietly leave. Right outside the clinic, Kim Chun's already waiting. He asks about the surgery situation and Donghui's recovery ability. In response, Donghui coldly says, "What's it to you?" Getting rejected bluntly, Ki-chun still shamelessly grins, saying he came partly to check his old friend's leg condition, but also didn't forget about seeing Donghui chatting with Han this afternoon. He clearly shows his intention to know what they discussed. Not stopping there, Wung Chun even says if Donghui recovers, he wants to solo a match for fun. Hearing that, Donghui smirks without courtesy and replies, "If my leg wasn't injured, you wouldn't have teeth left to say that garbage." Getting insulted to his face, Wung Chun gets angry. He kicks hard at Donghui's crippled leg. Seeing his opponent writhing in pain, after just one kick, he laughs mockingly, saying, "Donghui's just a useless hypocrite." He also mentions that if he was once Han's close friend, he should know his place and not stick his nose in other people's business anymore. Ki Wung Chun recounts how Han had to kneel and beg for forgiveness for touching Nesu 2 years ago. From that, he advises Donghui never to put his trust in Han again. The bloody lesson's still there. According to Wung Chun, Donghui should ask himself where his crippled leg came from. Wasn't it because of that ridiculous thing called brotherhood? Getting stabbed right where it hurts, Donghui immediately curses straight to Wung Chun's face. "A traitor like you who dared abandon both me and Han to follow Nesu has no right to open your mouth." Contrary to Donghui's anger, Wung Chun remains calm. He says bluntly, "What did following you guys bring? I think walking my own path is still better." Hearing those provocative words, Donghui's blood boils, cursing him as a bastard. But to Wung Chun, that doesn't hurt at all. In his eyes, Donghui is also just an idiot, who lived his whole life for brotherhood, but ultimately gained what? So he'd rather be called a scoundrel, while still having a stable life. He believes his flexibility and ability to adapt is what's truly wise. Wung Chun's mocking words are like knife thrusts digging deep into Donghui's pain. Even so, he can't refute anything, because the reality is, with this crippled leg, his life now is no different from someone whose martial arts have been disabled. The next morning at Deong School, after quietly waiting, Han finally hears Wung Chun's declaration of war echoing through the PA system. He publicly exposes Han's past defeat against Nesu, then calls him a loser to boost his subordinates' morale. With the current massive difference in numbers, no matter how strong Han is, Wung Chun believes he can't accomplish anything. After all, 2 years have passed. This time, Wung Chun wants to see if Han can still maintain his form from before. As former brothers, he says he'll greet Han ceremoniously with a formation of just a casual few hundred people. But before anything happens, the students in Han's class get knocked out one by one, without mercy. People from other rooms rushing over stand their mouths agape. Seeing guys getting thrown out like torn scarecrows, they thought ganging up would surely work. But looking inside, all they see is Han still acting casual, while those who charged in are all rolling around like soulless corpses. People start getting worried. Han remains calm as usual. Though the hallway's completely surrounded, he still smiles challengingly. Let the fun begin. Using numbers as their advantage, Wung Chun's subordinates swarm forward, hoping to take down the troublemaker. But ants are still just ants. Though outnumbered, thanks to superior skills, Han still stands firm and consecutively defeats each opponent, like he's mowing grass. While his friend fights alone against a whole wolf pack, Donghui still doesn't have enough courage to step out and fight alongside Han. He knows his friend is strong, but human strength has limits. Right now, he still can't put his trust in Han. Looking from outside, Deong School seems peaceful as always, but inside it's literally a brutal battlefield. Though the mob are mainly just walking sandbags voluntarily offering themselves up as punching bags for the troublemaker, in terms of numbers, they still have a clear advantage. Realizing randomly charging in brings no results, Wung Chun's subordinates immediately change tactics. They use their own bodies to restrain Han. Though he struggles hard, facing overwhelming numbers, Han quickly gets restrained. Unable to move, he becomes a living punching bag for the ant swarm, taking turns, landing hits. However, this advantage doesn't last long. With quick reaction ability and combat vision, Han immediately finds the weakness in the opponent's formation. With decisive kicks, he escapes the grip from the front, then unleashes thunderous punches at those trying to hold him from behind. Though trapped tight as a net, they still can't do anything to him. The rest start feeling scared, but unfortunately, it's too late. With monstrous strength, each of Han's punches is a farewell performance. 1 hit and you're flying, 2 hits and you're unconscious, and a combo means you're booking an early ticket to heaven. In no time, the entire hallway full of people gets cleaned out by Han with just his bare hands. But victory still doesn't belong to him yet. The mob keeps coming, growing larger by the moment. The leader wearing a hat starts looking smug. He thinks Han's gradually losing strength while his 500 brothers haven't even entered the arena yet. After several pentakills, Han indeed shows signs of fatigue, but in his eyes, there's never been a hint of giving up. Somewhere, not far away, ignoring the crowd pouring in like rushing fans, Donghui just stands silent. He thinks Han's an idiot, and everything's over. Right when he's still hesitating, Sehun suddenly appears like fate itself. She starts with a sharp, sarcastic remark. Your friend's getting ganged up on, and you're sitting here doing what? After roasting him, she finally steps closer and starts greeting him properly. Since this is their first meeting, Sehun introduces herself as Han's colleague to avoid making Donghui feel awkward. Though just getting trolled, Donghui doesn't take it to heart, but he still admits he doesn't think he can fight anymore. Hearing that, Sehun agrees. She says she thinks the same way, which is why she's not talking about fighting but only wants to talk about Han. According to her, the whole group knew beforehand that sooner or later the entire Daeong school would unite to take Han down. If she were in that situation, she'd definitely have run away long ago. But Han's not like that. He chose to fight to the end. Why? Because according to Sehun, Han wants to show Donghui that this time he'll be the victor. Hearing that, Donghui suddenly remembers what Han said when he turned his back and left. However, doubt still piles up in his heart. Can willpower alone really defeat Nesu? Just like Hee Wong-chun once said, it's precisely because of brotherhood that Donghui became a cripple like this. Will that past repeat itself? Seeing Donghui still conflicted, Sehun asks directly, don't you regret your current decision? The question's light, but like a mind-opening technique. Donghui finally has an answer for himself. It's time to prove to the traitor that his leg may be crippled, but he's not a useless person. Back to Han's battle. No matter how much the mob screams and shouts, the final outcome is still lying there gasping for oxygen after getting fed by Han's fists. However, after continuously throwing kicks at wave after wave of fools, Han's stamina starts showing signs of decline. Recognizing Han's strength isn't ordinary, Wong-chun decides to deploy his elite forces. Now the strongest members of his formation finally reveal themselves. Though he can't deny his opponent's toughness, to Wong-chun this show's gone far enough. Behind him is a battle-ready force still full of energy, while Han's nearly exhausted. There's no reason he can hold out much longer. But for Han, this isn't his first time in such a situation. No matter how much Wong-chun runs his mouth, Han's still ready to engage, prepared to party till the end with his enemies. Enough words. Wong-chun doesn't want to give Han time to catch his breath. He immediately orders his subordinates to swarm and finish off the troublemaker. But man plans, and heaven decides. When Wong-chun's hunting dogs haven't even gotten close, the battle suddenly gets interrupted. Thinking some stranger's interfering, both Han and Ki-chun freeze when they realize it's the crippled Donghui. Right at that moment, the battle comrade who once lived and died with Han officially returns. Donghui understands Han better than anyone, fully knowing that if his friend's determined to party till the end, there's no reason he wouldn't step in to help. We're still in Daeong school, but this time, the battle has Donghui's participation. Even so, Ki-chun and his subordinates aren't the least bit worried. They think adding one cripple just makes it easier to handle. Immediately, Ki-chun orders his men to charge, planning to deal with both at once. But Han's comrade isn't easy to bully. Though Donghui's leg is injured, he still possesses the veteran combat skills of a former student who once topped Daeong school. One of Ki-chun's cocky subordinates thought his opponent was just putting on a show. Who knew that right after issuing a challenge, he takes a staff straight to the face, Han-style courtesy. Though his leg's still trembling, Donghui easily defeats Ki-chun's mob with a devastating knee strike. Without letting opponents recover, he continuously unleashes powerful strikes that leave two arrogant punks seeing stars. On the other side, though exhausted, Han's fists still make the brats roll around like getting disciplined by dad. At first they thought it'd be easy, but entering the fight they immediately get their souls knocked out by Han. Getting completely dominated, one subordinate screams. One guy keeps punching non-stop, and the other is like Dr. House on a roid rage. He's got a bum leg and a limp, but he's treating us like a terminal diagnosis. We're getting destroyed. Until now, Wong-chun's subordinates still don't understand how monstrous Han's crew is. Despite overwhelming numbers, thanks to smooth combat coordination, the cannon fodder can't do anything against Han and Donghui. Reunited and fighting side by side with his close comrade, Donghui seizes the opportunity to apologize to Han. He once blamed Han a lot for his current life, but Donghui now understands all the misfortune he suffered after the battle 2 years ago wasn't caused by Han. Just because he didn't know who to blame, he vented his anger on his best friend. And today, Donghui wants to sincerely apologize. When the two brothers are getting emotional, Ki-chun suddenly rushes in to interrupt. Thinking he's getting a combo kill, Ki-chun charges very fiercely. But Donghui's been waiting for this opportunity, so this time he tells Han, "Leave that guy to me." In an instant, both Donghui and Han dodge Ki-wung-chun's thunderous strike. Looking back, oh, turns out the two brothers are running. Thinking opponents are fleeing, Ki-chun eagerly gives chase. Who knew Han would grab his neck and throw him like a sack of rice? Ki-chun gets tossed into a room. Before understanding what happened, he's startled seeing Donghui lock the door, trapping himself inside with him. Now Donghui will solo him to death, this traitorous glory seeker. And Han, outside, will distribute free hospital tickets to the rest. The battle begins again. Han says his friend, "Just wait a bit. I'll come help after I'm done." Donghui nods confidently. "Fighting this guy to the death. I can handle it myself. Nothing's stopping us from ending this battle today." Ki-chun still thinks his opponent's just pretending to be dangerous. He laughs contemptuously, acting like a clown, but Donghui thinks differently. In his eyes, Wung-chun's just a pitiful creature, a forever alone loser with no friends, no loyalty. Being both stupid and egotistical, Ki-chun charges forward to finish things. But before he can make a move, he takes a devastating counter from Donghui. After that foolish display, the big guy has to endure a rain of strikes. Seeing things going badly, Ki-chun desperately rams into his opponent. Facing the clear difference in physique and strength, Donghui quickly gets lifted and slammed hard into a window. Though dodging the next punch, the situation now tilts toward Wung-chun because Donghui lost his weapon. Even so, facing an opponent brimming with confidence, Donghui doesn't waver at all. Without his stuff, he uses his dress shirt as a temporary weapon. A dress shirt's? Clearly Donghui really doesn't take Wung-chun seriously. Wung-chun continues being complacent and once again falls into Donghui's trap. Contrary to his careless appearance, he adapts flexibly, quickly locking the enemy and slamming his head down to the ground. Getting in position, Donghui unleashes a barrage of punches at Wung-chun's face. Thinking he turned the situation around, who knew that guy stubborn enough to grab his leg, making the situation instantly reverse. Only now does Wung-chun mutter, "You're strong, but I'm not the same person I was before." Right after finishing his sentence, he concentrates full force, striking straight at Donghui's previously injured leg, causing him excruciating pain. Thinking he'd defeated his opponent, Wung-chun arrogantly says, "The price to pay for today isn't cheap, Donghui." But victory still hasn't called anyone's name yet. Though suffering serious injury, Donghui can't let the traitor leave easily. Wung-chun may have struck repeatedly, but still can't make him fall. Infuriated by his opponent's persistence, he continues pouring punches into Donghui's face. Though getting pressed and taking endless hits, Donghui remains hard as steel, refusing to submit. Even when taking a punch straight to the face that sends him flying several meters, he still has no intention of giving up. Seeing his opponent motionless, Wung-chun thinks he's ended the fight and turns to settle scores with Han. But before anything, he sees Donghui struggling to stand up, coldly saying, "Stay here. We're fighting till one of us drops, then you can go wherever." The battle's not over. His opponent got provoked easily and ran towards Donghui. They say you don't step in the same river twice. Yet this cheap, oversized guy falls into Donghui's trap 3 times, who's now striking him to the face, endlessly with his hand full of glass shards. Unable to believe his opponent would fight to this extent just for Han, he tries launching a counter, but Donghui dodges easily. People like Wung-chun, both stupid and loud, how could they understand Donghui? Right now, Donghui can't fall because if he fails, what face does he have to stand before Han? Not giving Wung-chun any more chances to counter, Donghui unleashes his signature headbutt, leaving the traitor dizzy and unable to stand steady. At this point, Wung-chun finally truly realizes Donghui is an extremely dangerous person. With no strength left to resist, he can only stand there taking a beating under those thunderous punches. Right now, all the frustration and pain Donghui endured for so long, from the day his leg got broken, from being despised by people like a crippled dog, all of it gets concentrated into that final fist. That punch packed with fighting spirit and memories ends everything. Ki Wung-chun is finally completely defeated. As for Donghui, though his leg's still trembling, he still forces his broken body to walk outside to witness the victory of his closest friend, Han. And, just as predicted, Han remains an undefeated war god. No matter how numerous the enemies, after everything, Han's crew still stands shoulder to shoulder like before, though both look battered and bruised. In the end, the victorious smile belongs to Han and his close comrade. Not taking much time, they leave the battlefield behind and walk away with arms over each other's shoulders. At the same time, returning to his territory and seeing the place he controlled destroyed by a bunch of punks, the underground boss immediately erupts in fury. Just Han alone was enough to turn the entire area he controlled into this mess. How can he swallow that frustration? Gangsang immediately orders his subordinates to deal with Han. But then, someone said, kids' business should be left to kids, while adults have adult matters. Right now, Big On also has business to discuss with old Gangsang. Nobody expected Han to have financial backing strong enough to be supported by a top-tier law firm. But there's no law saying rich people can't get beaten, so Gangsang doesn't really care. Big On doesn't want to waste time with long explanations, so he hands his opponent 3 suitcases as travel expenses, so he'll stop interfering in Han's business. Thinking it's a real bribe, Gangsang happily has his subordinates check the goods, expecting to see gold, silver, or cash. But what appears before him is just a pile of documents. Holding that stack of yellowed papers, Gangsang feels something's off. And indeed it is, because, according to Big On, that's precisely the headline for tomorrow's news. School tolerates, thugs dragging good students into criminal organizations. It can be said, Gangsang's entire gang operation from embezzlement to tax evasion to illegal land investment is all now in Big On's hands. That's why Big On's completely confident that just releasing these things will force old Gangsang to seriously consider the proposal. Getting pushed into a corner, Gangsang threatens, "You could die at any moment if you dare hold a lamp in front of a tank." A person only has one life, and Gangsang believes Big On wouldn't dare risk it like that. But Big On isn't scared at all. Though he could die, he knows one thing clearly. If his law firm directly confronts Gangsang's organization, the losing side will be his opponent. And if another murder case happens, Gangsang has even less reason to win the lawsuit. So even if Big On wants to die, Gangsang can't let that happen. Getting hit at his weak point, old Gangsang, a seasoned underworld veteran, has no choice but to order his subordinates to stand down. Though bitter inside, he still has to lower his voice and ask, "What exactly do you want?" Now holding the initiative in negotiations, Big On doesn't demand much. He only needs one thing. Gangsang must hand over Deong School's management rights. Gangsang's face clearly shows unwillingness, but this is the only choice he can accept right now. In another development, after taking Han and Donghui to the hospital, Sehun can't help but marvel at Han's toughness. She wonders if Han's a real person or a robot, fighting an entire school yet still looking like nothing happened. Hearing Sehun's compliments, Han just smirks, saying he's not that healthy, but compared to Donghui, he's still much better off. To the point even the doctor's astonished, not understanding how Donghui could endure such severe pain all this time. When arriving at the hospital, Donghui's condition wasn't very optimistic, so as a precaution, the doctor has to monitor more closely. Though cautious like that, the surgery proceeds smoothly, making the doctor believe his recovery prospects are very good. In misfortune, there's fortune. After years of anguish for causing his best friend's broken leg 2 years ago, Han can finally lift the burden from his heart. Elsewhere in the city, when Ono's bragging in an interview about successful young people, not far away, Junho receives good news from Big On. According to what he reads, Gangsang himself revealed the school violence situation and students being oppressed and exploited for 2 years at Deong School. This information seen as a powerful strike against Ono's Nesu organization, making Junho very satisfied with Han and Big On's work efficiency. As for Ono, he starts feeling something's wrong, because until now, his manager never proactively arranged for him to participate in such a small interview. It doesn't take long for Ono to realize this entire meeting today was arranged by Junho. Immediately, he speaks up flatteringly, acting surprised and honored to meet a respectable figure like Chairman Junho. However, that overly colorful tone makes Junho mock him. "Already forgotten who I am?" With their deep-rooted grudges, how could Ono forget someone who was once his rival? But he still shamelessly declares that now things are different from before. The past is the past, and now they're just a chairman and a professional gamer chatting with each other. It's all just showing respect for someone he's always admired. Responding to that deep performance, Junho smiles sarcastically. "Good that you know your place, but I'm the type who's consistent. No need to beat around the bush. The one destroying your middle school is me." Though surprised that Junho proactively revealed his hand, Ono still tries to keep a calm face, acting like he doesn't understand what's happening, then finds an excuse to leave. Don't know what this guy ate to make his face so thick. Though clearly knowing he just got played by Junho, he still tries to act polite, extending his hand for a handshake as if nothing happened. Even when not reciprocated, Ono still smiles brightly, like a genuine Hollywood actor. After bowing in social courtesy, he turns to leave, as if everything's under control. But life doesn't work that way. Before he can leave, Junho calls him back and coldly warns, "Next time we meet, You won't be able to keep that smug face anymore. Getting insulted no different than a stray dog, Ono still forces out a social smile. But the moment he turns away, his true face immediately shows. As for Junho, he's secretly worried. 2 years have passed. He thought he'd calm down, or at least when meeting his opponent again there'd be some fear. But no, turns out that worry was completely unnecessary. Just seeing Ono's face is enough to make Junho feel disgusted. Meanwhile, facing subordinates' questions about Han and Junho's movements, Ono naturally can't ignore them. For someone like him, if the opponent fired the first shot, there's no reason not to retaliate. Ono instructs his subordinates to prepare carefully because the upcoming confrontation will very likely be the largest scale showdown in Nesu's history. Immediately after, the organization's most powerful figures are urgently summoned to an emergency meeting. His schedule's packed tight, so being called urgently, Choi clearly shows his annoyance. Unlike Choi, 2 young men, long-haired Moonjin and the big guy Hui, don't really care. After all, this is a direct order from above. In a corner of the room, Jochin gazes at Seoul's night scenery, while saying it's so beautiful that Choi shouldn't complain anymore. As a recent recruit, Dong Chi-on still quietly observes the members in the room. Meanwhile, Nam Iso, who once had a grudge against Han, sits deep in thought, his eyes full of contemplation. The reason for this emergency meeting is none other than Han's unexpected return. They thought Han had been crushed by Ono's money long ago, so both Choi and Moonjin are quite surprised receiving the summons. Having joined Nesu organization less than a year ago, Dong Chi-on can't hide his curiosity. He doesn't know who Han is that makes the entire organization summon him all the way to Seoul. Hearing that, Moonjin bursts out laughing. Though knowing Dong Chi-on's still wet behind the ears, he still takes the opportunity to mock him, saying, "Not knowing anything must be tiring. Let me tell you about it." Getting trolled by a senior, Dong Chi-on's burning with frustration, but he still patiently listens. According to Moonjin, 2 years ago, there appeared an extremely dangerous guy, none other than Park Han. Though only controlling a small territory in Seoul, while Nesu already dominated most territories inside and outside the city, strangely, they didn't dare touch Han's area. Moreover, the small fry subordinates under Han were extremely loyal. Just let him speak up, and the whole gang's ready to attack Nesu organization. That year, Nesu's entire leadership and core forces had to unite to capture Han. Moonjin says, "Unfortunately, that didn't go well. Otherwise, the whole gang, including newbie Dong Chi-on, won't be gathering now." Remembering back then, Moonjin thought with such a massive force, swallowing Han would be easy as pie. Who knew the whole gang got swept by Han without missing a single person? Nesu organization nearly collapsed completely. Fortunately, Ono stepped up to flip the table, just in time. Hearing a story like science fiction, Dong Chi-on doesn't really believe Moonjin's tale. But Moonjin's not joking at all. According to him, just witnessing Han in action with your own eyes, Dong Chi-on will understand why he's called a living demon. Sounds overglorified. Dong Chi-on, with a newbie's arrogance, smirks mockingly. He doesn't think Han's that impressive. On the contrary, he mocks those around him as just muscle-headed idiots. Hearing this, Moonjin starts getting annoyed and can't help responding. "Know your place, kid." About to verbally fight to the end, Moonjin gets stopped by his close comrade Hui. According to Hui, what Dong Chi-on said isn't completely wrong, so no need to make a small thing big. Choi, sitting nearby, also nods in agreement with the big guy, but that was 2 years ago. Thinking back now, Choi feels the organization overreacted a bit to someone like Han. Unlike Choi, Jochin's much more cautious. To him, being careful is never excessive, even when things don't seem too serious. Because if you're complacent, the consequences could be unpredictable. Jochin's words aren't baseless. Nam Iso's the one who directly got schooled by Han, so whenever anyone mentions that name, though not speaking up, Iso's brimming with killing intent. After waiting a while, the main character of the meeting finally arrives. Seeing everyone's gathered completely, Ono immediately apologizes for the urgent summons. Seems like everyone already guessed the meeting's reason, so Ono doesn't beat around the bush and goes straight to the main issue. Accordingly, Han started taking action, and Nesu organization won't hesitate to retaliate immediately. Though Ono's the one making final decisions, he still wants to hear everyone's opinions on this matter. Hearing that, Choi raises his hand to speak. He's not sure fighting now is a wise choice. According to Choi's view, this matter only revolves around one tiny school, yet Ono's making it seem like something earth-shattering. But feedback can be right or wrong, and Choi's opinion, clearly, isn't what Ono wants to hear. Seeing his Ono's face starting to tense up, Choi knows he misspoke and quickly bows his head silent, not daring to say more. As for Ono, asking people for feedback sounds democratic indeed, but getting criticized for overreacting, he can't swallow that frustration. Wanting to argue back is difficult because in Nesu organization, Ono is the emperor, so Choi can only endure, not daring to argue. Completely opposite, Nam Iso strongly agrees with dealing with Han. Hearing a satisfying response, Ono immediately shows satisfaction. He thinks the money-crushing tactic no longer works. Now that Han has solid backing, if they want to go all the way, the whole group must prepare thoroughly. However, Nam Iso doesn't really care about Ono's words, because from the day Han humiliated him in public, he's always been ready for this moment. Knowing Nam Iso's someone who directly clashed with Han, Ono becomes even more confident. Without beating around the bush, he immediately nods and assigns the task of dealing with Han to Iso. The order's been issued. Both Choi and Jochin stay silent, not daring to object. Monjin and Hoi don't care either way. Only Dong Chi On, the newbie, extremely supports this decision. So the meeting ends with Ono officially entrusting the important responsibility of eliminating Han to Namiso, something he's longed for. Now, the day Iso's been waiting for to wash away his past shame has finally arrived. Quickly after that, all brothers in the Incheon area under Nam Iso's command get summoned. Everything's ready for the revenge plan. This time, Iso absolutely must take Han's life to wash away that past humiliation. Hearing the boss is determined to eliminate Han, one team member gets extremely excited. Just like his boss, this fat guy's really looking forward to sending Han to meet his maker. Back to Han. After learning his friend's condition is stable, Junho takes him to an old house located in the heart of Seoul. Upon arrival, Junho immediately looks troubled. Don't you feel it's unfair? Because I know quite a lot about you, but you don't know anything about me. Junho understands Han's curious why he hates Ono so much, and why he's willing to fight to the end just to take revenge on someone like him. Junho thinks it's time to reveal the whole truth to his teammate, so he invites Han inside the house that marks the starting point of his deep grudge with Nesu organization. The first thing Junho confirms is that the money used for the revenge plan isn't his, but belongs to the owner of this house, where they're standing. According to his story, about 2 years ago, Junho had an extremely close friend. The two were tight as blood brothers. Though sometimes they'd bicker like cats and dogs, the next day, they'd act like nothing happened. To Junho, that was a beautiful friendship. That friend was extremely talented with technology. Though never formally educated, just self-taught through trial and error, he could still develop software for stock market research. Although the software interface looked quite simple, the product his friend created had all necessary functions, helping a stock investor make tons of money with extremely low risk probability. At that time, Junho truly admired his friend. He believed a bright future was definitely waiting for that friend ahead. But life always has unexpected turns. Since Han got crushed by Nesu's money, all leaders in his territory got replaced. Under Ono and his crew's control, anyone they didn't like got provoked. Any other organization got disbanded without mercy. Being someone with a strong personality who's never feared anyone, how could Junho bow his head to those bullies? Without much thought, instead of enduring, he fought back decisively. Junho's friend, witnessing the situation, also couldn't sit still. He immediately rushed into support, ready to fight beside Junho, even though neither was skilled at fighting. At that time, Junho simply thought Nesu was just a bunch of unorganized thugs, but reality showed him they're much more dangerous. By the time Junho realized it, everything was too late. His best friend's house was burning fiercely. Though wanting to rush in and save him, Junho got held back by firefighters, could only stand there helplessly, watching his friend perish in the sea of flames. The very next morning, he immediately went to school demanding justice from those who killed his friend and his parents. But no matter how much he raged, the only thing he got back was a thunderous slap from the ringleader. Though they'd taken 3 lives, those bastards still calmly justified that they were just smoking near the house, and Junho's friend's death was just bad luck. Of course Junho couldn't believe those excuses. In fury, he risked his life, rushing to fight Nesu's lackeys. And like the predetermined outcome, with not so impressive fighting ability, he got beaten by the mob until his whole body was bruised. That helplessness once made Junho feel utterly ashamed. However, he didn't let it extinguish his desire to stand up against Nesu. From then on, Junho determined to erase this organization. He went anonymous, erasing all traces as if he never existed. When coincidentally discovering the stock software his deceased friend left behind was still working, Junho didn't know what else to do besides plunging into the path his friend once pursued. The moment he opened the software to start learning, he was shocked seeing the money in his friend's account continuously increasing. The emotion then was a mix of joy and regret, because if his friend were alive, Perhaps both could share this achievement together. But precisely because that friend's no longer here, Junho knew from now on he could only keep that money to take revenge for the deceased. From that moment, Junho had more reason to continue living to bring justice back for his best friend. He vowed to use all the money earned to eliminate Ono. That's everything Junho wanted to share with Han. After hearing the story, Han can't hide his surprise and wonders why Junho trusted him enough to tell everything. Junho responds frankly, "I want you to know everything because I need you determined to overthrow Nesu, not just beat them up." Ending the conversation, Junho returns to headquarters with his personal driver. On the way, he called Sehun to inform her he'd told Han everything. As usual, Sehun still doesn't forget to seize the opportunity to roast Chairman Jun a few times. She also reminds Junho to be careful with Nesu's Incheon crew, because their next target will very likely be him. And true indeed, Sehun's words this time are accurate as a prophet. She just mentioned trouble, and trouble already appeared. Though Junho still believes he'll be fine, his enemies apparently don't think so. Right in the middle of the road, they still dare, brazenly, spray paint his car as a warning. Getting ambushed unexpectedly, his personal drivers forced to skillfully maneuver to help Junho escape. However, escaping Nesu's pursuit isn't easy. The situation quickly spirals beyond the driver's control, and what had to come has come. Junho can only grip the seatbelt tightly, following the driver's instructions, before the car crashes straight into the median on the other side. On the other end of the line, Sehun immediately senses something's wrong. She tries calling Junho, but can't contact him anymore. At this moment, Junho's been gifted a deep sleep after the accident. In less than no time, Nesu's Incheon crew has captured Junho. Coincidentally hearing Sehun's voice from the phone, Nam Iso picks up the device and asks her to relay to Park Han that he's waiting at Incheon. Come quickly. According to Nam Iso, just hearing that, Han will understand. Before she can ask more, the opponent coldly hangs up. Though complimented as beautiful and even mistaken as Junho's girlfriend, Sehun's still furious. Being complimented is one thing, but being mistaken as Junho's girlfriend is truly something she can't swallow. As for Han, after the conversation with Junho, he's thought a lot about what was shared. Through Junho's eyes and voice, Han clearly sensed the intense desire for revenge in his opponent's heart. Junho once said, "I told you everything, so you'd be more determined in taking revenge." But Han never intended to give up anyway. Lost in thought on the way home, Sehun suddenly rushes on her motorcycle, straight in front of Han. The situation seems extremely urgent, so she immediately yells loudly, "Get on the bike, quick!" After informing him that Nesu's Incheon crew captured Junho, Han immediately understands who's behind this. Back to Junho. After being unconscious for a while, he finally wakes up. Just opening his eyes, Junho hasn't figured out where he is yet, but looking around once, he realizes he's fallen into Nesu's Incheon crew's hands. The moment seeing Junho wake up, the fat guy immediately suggests to his boss to make him sleep again. Looking closely, Junho recognizes him as Banjun, the second-ranked lackey in the Incheon group. From that, he deduces the person the fat guy's talking to must definitely be Nam Iso. As for Iso, he doesn't see Junho as anything more than bait to lure Han here. So whether Junho's awake or not doesn't matter. Once achieving his goal, he'll release him immediately. Understanding the situation clearly, Junho bursts out laughing. He mocks, "Do you guys really have no brains? Kidnapping the chairman of a major corporation as a hostage? Does that sound reasonable?" Though in a tight spot, Junho still maintains his usual mocking attitude. He admits their idea isn't bad, but the problem is, do you guys think you're skilled enough to capture Han? Junho once heard Incheon's the weakest among all of Nesu's territories. Not only that, 2 years ago, Nam Iso's brother had to kneel before Han to apologize. With that much humiliation in the past, Junho completely doesn't believe Nam Iso, and that fat guy will accomplish anything. Hearing past events mentioned, the fat guy gets obviously angry. He nearly rushed to shut Junho's mouth, but fortunately, Nam Iso stopped him in time. Though provoked, Nam Iso stays calm. He thinks if Junho researched the Incheon gang thoroughly, he should know his brother's kneeling back then was a personal action, absolutely not representing the Incheon gang or anyone else. Despite Nam Iso's efforts to explain, Junho still deliberately digs deeper. He mocks, "So the people in Incheon must be sad, huh? When their boss, someone who knelt and apologized to Han, isn't even acknowledged?" Getting his past pain mentioned 6 or 7 times by Junho, Banjun gets furious. He grabs Junho's collar and growls, "Open your mouth one more time and I'll send you to reincarnate immediately." Even so, with his stubborn personality, Junho still won't stay silent. He releases more provocative words without the slightest fear. Fortunately, before Banjun can act, one of Namiso's subordinates appears, reporting that Han has arrived. Finally, what Namiso's been hoping for has become reality. Namiso immediately advises Banjun to calm down. He says, "Don't waste energy on Junho anymore. The person we need to deal with came looking for us, himself." Though still bitter, Banjun has to swallow his anger. He throws Junho into a corner, temporarily setting aside his grudge to focus strength on the confrontation with Han. Namiso understands clearly, no matter how he justifies, Junho will mock him, but to him, the Incheon gang has never bowed to Han. This battle, Namiso wants Junho to open his eyes wide and watch, because the current Incheon gang is vastly different from 2 years ago. Back to Han's group, Sehun's desperately running for her life from Incheon crew's pursuit. Just for saving a friend, getting chased by little demons who won't let go, Sehun's so angry she could explode. However, when Han looks back to observe, he doesn't see anyone chasing at all. Not sure which direction the opponent went, Sehun also curiously turns her head back. Unexpectedly, before recovering, thinking enemies were still far away, who knew they're standing right in front. Startled, Sehun quickly breaks because they're blocked by fat guy Banjun. Thinking the opponent plans to go all the way, Sehun immediately pushes Han forward as a living shield. As for Banjun, just hearing the name and seeing Han's face makes him want to charge in already. Even so, he still decides to hold back a bit, demanding both stay silent and follow him. According to Banjun, the battle in Incheon is in one-on-one format. Even though she's about to step into the tiger's den, Sehun refuses to turn off her hater mode. She looks the big guy up and down and sneers. "What's the deal with the height? Did you swallow a vial of Titan spinal fluid? Or were you just born looking like an aberrant?" Banjun, who has been putting up with her mouth for a while, stays completely silent. Sehun has never been ghosted like this before, and it gets under her skin. Annoyed, she doubles down with a devastating verbal combo. "You really think standing there, looking like the Beast Titan's less successful cousin, makes you look intimidating?" The insult hits home, and Banjun's face turns a deep, pulsing red. He looks like he's about to steam from his ears. Clenching his jaw so hard it might snap, he tries to maintain his composure, wanting nothing more than for Sehun to shut her mouth and just keep walking. But obedient has never appeared in Sehun's living dictionary. Ignoring threats from Banjun, she stubbornly demands a final explanation. She says 2 years ago, after Incheon's side knelt and apologized to Han, didn't both sides agree to stop fighting? So why are they now eagerly setting traps to lure Han here? Already stabbed several times in his pride by Junho earlier, now getting poked a few more times by Sehun, Banjun can only grit his teeth and endure. Young man Banjun no longer maintains his initial calm. He's truly going crazy. Even if the opponent's female, he won't hesitate to act if provoked further. Immediately, Han steps up to shield her for protection. Seeing Han and Sehun's perfectly coordinated performance, the fat guy's face turns purple with rage. Unable to contain his fury, before reaching Namiso's location, Banjun decides to teach Han a lesson. Here's the deal on this big guy. Banjun was a physical anomaly from day one. Before he even finished middle school, he was already 6'11" and a solid 550 pounds. His size was so ridiculous that people nicknamed him the walking meat locker. Whether fried or grilled, today's the first time in his life he experiences the feeling of flying through the air. After Han's gentle kick, thinking he'd be so tough, who knew the fat guy's mouth gets crooked lying there like a pig? Han's declaration of war truly couldn't be sharper. Immediately, the whole bunch of fools surround Han and Sehun. Seems they're still haunted by the past, so the moment they see their opponent, they immediately enter deathmatch position, preparing for a gang beating. Hearing Incheon gang declare one-on-one combat but now playing pack tactics, Sehun displays a smile full of contempt. Far away, Junho, though tied up, doesn't forget to troll. He mocks. Pretty bold indeed, daring to humiliate Incheon gang's boss in front of everyone. "But my legs are too numb. Please hurry up and finish so I can untie these ropes." But Namiso won't easily let Han do whatever he wants in his territory. He's waited for this moment for a very long time. So, he orders all subordinates to step back. This battle, he'll handle himself. The moment they meet face to face, Han immediately recognizes Namiso as Nam Mansu's brother who knelt before him 2 years ago. Namiso doesn't say much, opening the match with a wind-cutting punch straight at Han's face. Though, just a feint, the strike's enough to make Han's face bleed. Just taking the first hit, Han surprises both Junho and Sehun. They didn't expect the enemy to be this strong. Meanwhile, Namiso's subordinates are extremely excited, waiting for their boss to crush Han. The match continues. Having waited for this day too long, Namiso doesn't delay further and proactively rushes to strike first. With sharp observation, Han realizes Nam Iso's striking speed is extremely fast. Even so, he's confident he can dodge, but reality doesn't match expectations. Though the strike only grazes, Nam Iso's fist still manages to clip Han's face. He's proven that what he said wasn't exaggeration. Right now, Nam Iso wants to reclaim all the humiliation Incheon gang had to endure 2 years ago. Not wanting to let his opponent control the game, Han immediately retaliates with a hook punch, followed by an extremely fast spinning kick. But Han's speed still isn't enough to surpass Nam Iso. With just a few evasive movements, Nam Iso dodges both strikes and unleashes an extremely powerful punch into Han's ribs. The battle's tilting toward Nam Iso. He continuously strikes with superior speed, while Han still hasn't had a chance to counterattack effectively. Attacking many times, but not hitting the mark once, Han's at a clear disadvantage. Han quickly has to pay the price against Nam Iso's sharp counterattacks. Though the match just entered its first phase, what Han's displaying completely disappoints Nam Iso. He can't contain his anger if his opponent's trembling this badly right from the start. That's why, right now, Nam Iso wants Han to stand up and continue fighting, because the showdown between them has only just begun. Back to the past. Since his brother having to kneel before Han in Incheon, Nam Iso hasn't allowed himself to rest even 1 second. Instead, he threw himself into insane training, as if tomorrow didn't exist. That feeling of humiliation became the motivation preventing Nam Iso from stopping. Previously, Incheon proudly owned the nation's most powerful punches, but that pride turned into an indelible stain when Mansu, Incheon gang's leader at that time, knelt and apologized to Han. Though once praised as a boxing prodigy, Nam Iso abandoned boxing because he felt it too boring. What he truly loved was fighting, real combat. From then on, he wandered everywhere, seeking worthy opponents to accumulate experience through brutal real battles. It can be said, the more sandbags to pound, the more brutal, the more excited Nam Iso became. In just 2 years, he caused chaos everywhere, destroying 27 schools, smashing 13 gyms, and forcing 4 underworld organizations to disband. Everything Nam Iso did was for one single goal: revenge against Han. But now, when the revenge opportunity's within reach, Han's weak performance is nothing short of insulting him. If Han's truly this weak, then the humiliation Incheon gang endured will only become even more shameful. The more he thinks, the more furious Nam Iso becomes. He attacks increasingly violently, while Han can only defend, completely unable to counter. Standing outside, observing the match, Taehan starts clearly worrying. She realizes Han's gradually getting completely suppressed, and if this continues, their revenge plan might crumble. Conversely, Junho still maintains calm. Before choosing Han, he investigated thoroughly and discovered a rather surprising truth. Though the son of a fitness trainer, Han's never received formal training in any martial art. He only possesses stamina, strength, and innate adaptability. But that alone was enough to drive Naesu crazy. With that special talent, as long as Han grasps his opponent's rhythm and fighting style, he can completely reverse the situation. But the point is, Nam Iso fully understands this too. And that's exactly why Junho needs to continue observing more. Back to the fight. Nam Iso's thunderous punches continuously pound Han's face. This is especially dangerous because wounds caused by gloved punches differ vastly from bare-fisted ones. According to Junho's knowledge, a professional fighter can tear an ordinary person's skin with bare hands, and Nam Iso's fully exploiting this advantage to prepare for the next round. The reality on the floor is unfolding exactly as Junho predicted. Nam Iso deliberately inflicts continuous damage on Han to gain advantage later. Conversely, Han still can't read his opponent's playbook and completely falls into a suppressed position. Not giving Han a chance to regain rhythm, Nam Iso continuously closes in, finding every way to corner his opponent. Though in a passive position, with his inherent toughness, Han still has enough strength to push back his opponent. To Nam Iso, this is unbelievable. The weight he's pressing onto Han isn't light at all, while his opponents sustained countless injuries. If this situation continues, Nam Iso might get injured from hitting surrounding obstacles. However, that's a scenario that would happen if Nam Iso were just a pure boxing fighter. But he's actually a street fighter, so neutralizing countering Han's move isn't too difficult. Right after, he counters by flinging Han into a nearby wall. Seeing their boss completely dominating the opponent, Nam Iso's subordinates firmly believe victory's in Incheon gang's hands. However, it's not time to celebrate yet, because according to Nam Iso, the match just finished round 1. Though holding the upper hand, Nam Iso doesn't act complacent at all. He knows his opponent won't be easily defeated like this. But at the same time, he also discovers Han's eyes have started bleeding, a clear signal his vision's weakening. According to Nam Iso, if the match continues, the advantage will completely tilt toward him. However, All his calculations are only correct if his opponent's ordinary. But Han's not an easy variable to grasp. That's also why Junho placed his trust in him. Finally, the moment to reverse the situation Junho's been hoping for has arrived. With extraordinary stamina and adaptability, Han quickly catches Namiso's rhythm and striking style. And once accustomed to the moves, he starts showing Namiso who's truly the master in this deathmatch. Namiso initially thought Han just got lucky, landing one hit, but right after, he takes another punch straight to the face. The match situation reverses quickly. Namiso now no longer controls the game, but conversely is getting completely dominated by Han. If judging purely by speed, Namiso's truly one of the fastest in Korea. But unfortunately for him, Han's a monster among monsters, a born all-around warrior. According to Junho, though Han's speed differs from his opponent, the fact he got cornered from the start is quite illogical. But reality proved the opposite, making Sehun question Junho's assessment. Facing that doubt, Junho explains that initially, Han seemed outmatched only because his body was getting familiar with Namiso's fighting style. Han's opponent can flexibly switch between boxing and street fighting. Not only that, Namiso's distance-keeping skills and speed are also truly unpredictable. But just as Junho predicted, at first glance, Han seems completely suppressed. But actually, he's gradually mastering the match's rhythm. Now, each of Han's strikes is very accurate in distance. Even after each combo phase, his striking speed increasingly approaches Namiso's speed. Namiso can't believe that all his efforts, all those years of hard training, are now getting easily crushed by Han like this. Only now does he gradually realize the gap in class between him and Han is like heaven and earth. Even so, Namiso still doesn't give up. He doesn't believe Han can surpass his superior speed. Namiso reacts faster. Just passing through in 1 second, he unleashes a series of damaging strikes on his opponent. Time to unleash full power. Namiso pushes speed to a new level, determined to dominate an overly stubborn and tough Han. Knowing clearly his opponent's the king of taking hits with abnormal level adaptation ability, Namiso plays the speed card, aiming to prevent Han from keeping up with the match's rhythm. But apparently it's still not enough for him to flip the table. According to Junho's observations, he can be certain of one thing. This match, Namiso no longer has a chance to win. No matter how strong, humans still have limits. Namiso, though the fastest among the strongest, still can't prevent Han from catching up then surpassing his speed. Having to face a true monster, Namiso, though unwilling, can only accept the bitter outcome. When taking his opponent's powerful punch, Namiso suddenly remembers what his brother Mansu once said. A true boss will do everything to protect his brothers, even at the expense of his personal honor. Because once you can't protect what you cherish, that's the biggest failure. 2 years ago, Namiso couldn't understand those words' meaning. That's why he chose the path of blind revenge. And until today, he still can't wash away that year's shame. Back to the past. Witnessing his brother kneel before Han, Namiso was furious to the extreme. He thought if the boss submitted, all the brothers no longer had a way to hold their heads high. In anger, Namiso called Mansu a bastard while demanding him to stand up. When seeing the boss surrender without even fighting, Namiso immediately rushed forward to solo and test his strength. Result: with still immature skills, he immediately got gifted by Han, a punch with free face tattoo included. Back to the present, though Namiso's gotten much stronger than back then, the outcome hasn't changed at all. Seeing the boss seemingly at a disadvantage, one gang member calls for Banjun to step up and lead the brothers into battle. As for Namiso, after experiencing Han's true strength, he finally understands. So that year, Mansu saw this exact scenario. Now, Namiso truly feels what his brother felt back then, because in this world, no one can match a monster. Initially, he was still full of fighting spirit, but now realizing dogs can't fight monsters, Namiso just wants to turn and run. Even so, with 500 brothers still there, he can't turn back. While Namiso's still confused, Banjun leads the subordinates, charging straight at Han. But in this situation, unity means collective departure. If not acting quickly, letting comrades throw themselves into hopeless attacks, a tragic outcome is unavoidable. Immediately, Namiso shouts loudly, ordering everyone to stop. As Incheon Gang's leader, he clearly understands his responsibility. Though having to set aside pride, Namiso is still willing to kneel, bowing his head, accepting defeat before Han. In the past, Namiso felt extremely ashamed seeing the man he respected have to submit to someone else. But now he himself is walking that same path, and this time he understands clearly why. That year, what his brother had to bear wasn't just humiliation, but also extreme loneliness when no one understood enough. The weight from a leader's knees isn't something to take lightly, and Namiso now feels it most clearly. Not Han, but he himself and Incheon gang brothers were the ones who underestimated former leader Mansu's sacrifice. You reap what you sow. Right when Namiso kneels, admitting defeat, Banjun can't accept that truth. Just like 2 years ago, the harsh words Namiso once gave his brother now return, falling right on him. Even so, Namiso still chooses to endure because that's the only way he can protect the members in Incheon's big family. Seeing a bunch of subordinates shouting, Junho steps forward, telling them not to get angry at their leader like that. He challenges, "Can't you see? Nam Iso did this for his brothers, not for anyone else? Or do you guys think just stepping on Han means winning?" With his familiar mind-opening technique, Junho makes Banjun and Incheon gang's brothers suddenly understand. In a battle, whoever protects more people is the true victor. Therefore, instead of blaming, they should be grateful to Namiso. And for that reason, Junho doesn't think Namiso needs to bow his head. "Raise your head," he says, thinking he'd be sympathized with. The moment Nam Iso raises his face, Junho casually spits on his hand, then headbutts him hard. Nam Iso gets so angry, his face turns pale. Seeing that, Junho just laughs. "You kidnapped me. Now I retaliate. What's the problem?" Saying retaliation for show. But actually, Junho doesn't really hold a grudge about being kidnapped. Just glancing briefly, he also understands Namiso's trying hard to endure things he once wanted to abandon. The kidnapping matter, Junho doesn't blame at all. He knows clearly Incheon gang's carrying a huge debt, and Namiso has no other choice. Everyone has their own difficulties, and therefore, Junho can completely empathize. As for the debt matter, Junho secretly paid off all of Incheon branch's debts to Nesu on their behalf. Hearing the shocking news, Namiso and the Incheon gang brothers can't help being stunned, because they can't understand why someone like Junho would step up to help them. But in this world, there's no such thing as a free lunch. To answer everyone's question, Junho says bluntly, "Leaving debt forever isn't good for either side. I'm not so idle that I'd hand you guys a chunk of money for no reason." Turns out, Junho secretly paid tuition at a technical academy so the entire Incheon gang could learn trades. And his only requirement is, study properly, then work hard to pay back your debt to me. He knows clearly the Incheon branch works extremely hard to pay Nesu's debt. From delivery to construction labor, they shoulder everything. Each time seeing Nam Iso and his brothers struggling with life but still persevering, Junho wants to extend a helping hand. Seeing Junho suddenly gentle, Sehun immediately seizes the opportunity to troll him as usual. As for Namiso, he's extremely grateful because, thanks to Junho, he can finally hold his head high and continue living. Nam Iso swears that someday he'll definitely repay today's kindness. But Junho, not used to hearing such touching words that give him goosebumps, waves his hand saying, "Alright, don't overdo it. Get out of here." That's just words though. Everyone understands. Junho's affection has been put into action. Nam Iso understands this, so before Junho leaves, he bows solemnly to show absolute respect. As for the Incheon gang brothers, Nam Iso has no face left after failing against Han. He bows his head, sending sincere apologies for making his big family feel ashamed. Everyone feels bitter about failure, but Nam Iso promises from now on, he'll never let his brothers lose face because of him again. From this moment, Incheon gang officially withdraws from Nesu organization. The Incheon family has turned a new page, and Namiso wants from now on, everyone should live without having to bow their heads to anyone. Back at Junho's headquarters, thanks to Han and Sehun's perfect coordination, the plan to cleanse Incheon branch succeeded beyond expectations. Therefore, Junho doesn't forget to thank both of them. Getting praised is normal, but Sehun just keeps giggling, making Han find it strange. As a devotee of money, Sehun, after completing the mission, gets showered with tens of millions by Junho, so no wonder she's cheerful and radiant. With her trolling nature ingrained in her blood, she even enthusiastically prays to heaven for Junho to get kidnapped every day so she can earn some extra income. Thinking about it makes him bitter. 3 generations of being chairman, yet Junho still hasn't met an employee as audacious as her. Feels pitiful, but right now Sehun only thinks about going shopping with a handsome guy, so ignoring the boss turning red with frustration, she immediately turns to sweet-talk Han. She says Han's back is quite broad, so if he wears certain clothes, he'll look extremely dashing. So if Han's free this weekend, Sehun wants to invite him shopping with her. Thinking he'd enjoy shopping, who knew Han would become Sehun's laughter vitamin? Though looking somewhat brutish, Han's still a kind, gentle person. Yet Sehun deliberately chooses him an outfit no different from authentic gangsters. So while Sehun's excited thinking her friend is adorable, Han's face is stiff, clearly unhappy. Not stopping there, Se-hun continues torturing Han with an outfit like an authentic rocker. Not only that, she makes Han pose for photos, but the poses are so weird that when captured, Han's face still can't hide his annoyance. Only when Junho stepped in does Se-hun finally let go, allowing Han to choose simpler outfits himself. The moment Han puts on a neat, elegant outfit, Se-hun becomes mesmerized, even drooling. So pleased, she immediately buys several similar sets to feast her eyes on later. In the corner of the room, 2 foreign guys spotted Se-hun. It wasn't hard. Anybody with a phone and an Instagram account recognized her immediately. The blonde guy decided this was his lucky night, convinced he was about to secure the ultimate trophy to take home. His friend was hesitant, worried that a girl with millions of followers wouldn't even look at them, but the blonde was riding a wave of unearned confidence. He looked at Han and Junho and assumed they were just her unpaid interns or background characters. To him, if she was hanging out with guys that looked that average, her standards had to be on the floor. He didn't see an influencer, he just saw a plaything with a blue checkmark. Thinking he was safe behind a language barrier, he started mocking her in English, telling his friend he'd let him have a turn after he was done with her. He eventually walked up to Se-hun, switching to a slimy, practiced Korean to try and sweet-talk his way into her good graces. Se-hun didn't even blink. She ignored him like a pop-up ad, which only made him more desperate. He kept pushing, trying to claim her as his date for the night. He thought he was the hunter, but he was really just walking into a meat grinder. The conversation ended with 2 thunderous slaps that probably left a permanent ringing in his ears. Se-hun finally looked him in the eye and revealed she'd understood every trashy word he'd said in English from the very beginning. She leaned in and delivered the final blow. "I understood every word. You're talking about taking turns like I'm a prize, but you're just a piece of trash I'm about to take out. Go find a dumpster. Maybe they'll let you have a turn in there." Getting insulted, the blonde's blood boils. He rushes forward planning to attack Se-hun, but immediately, Han unleashes a loving punch, making his nose break, head slamming into the glass. Seeing his friend getting hit without missing once, the black guy also charges in, but another complete wipeout follows. Though proactively attacking from behind, he still gets flipped by Han with a skillful elbow strike. Result, his fingers only manage to say goodbye before taking a thunderous punch. Just like that, wherever Se-hun and Han go, chaos follows. Elsewhere, at Nesu's entertainment area, news about Incheon gang withdrawing from the game has reached Choi's ears. However, he never counted on that gang anyway, so he's not too surprised. Only thing is, Choi didn't expect Junho would dare pay off all debts on Incheon gang's behalf. Back at the shopping district, for the crime of being weak yet liking to show off, the black youth has to cry and beg for his life. Though the opponent's speaking Korean, Han pretends not to understand, standing aside enjoying the comedy. Se-hun's delighted. The staff member has to intervene to stop the brawl. Se-hun apologized immediately. But just an apology isn't enough. They must pay compensation to the store for the mess Han caused. Meanwhile, at Nesu's entertainment area, Choi begins targeting Han. Not only that, he plans to approach Se-hun by luring her best friend into a trap. Continuing to sink in debt, that friend keeps diving into red-black gambling, embracing the thought, lose here, double there. In no time, she's sunk deep into the trap Choi set. By now, even wanting to turn back, there's no retreat. She's bankrupted 3 times with debts exceeding 120 million won. If nothing changes, her life's basically over. To keep her life, the reckless friend accepts Choi's previous proposal. To make sure, he asks again, "Are you certain you'll do exactly what I require?" Seeing both are very close friends, naturally Se-hun's friend now has no other choice. Though regretting betraying her friend in her heart, she still must bring Se-hun to the entertainment area under Choi's management, just to keep her life. At the hospital, the wounds just recovered, ignoring the nurse's concerns, Dong-hoi still frantically throws himself into training. Seeing that scene, Junho easily realizes Dong-hoi's surgery succeeded beyond expectations. He's extremely happy because, just like Han, Dong-hoi is a crucial ally in the plan to overthrow Nesu. As for Dong-hoi, though meeting for the first time, he still expresses gratitude to Junho. He even promises to find ways to repay all medical fees to him. Even so, to Junho, that money's nothing much. Helping others is helping yourself. So he advises Dong-hoi not to worry too much about Nexus now. Currently, the most important thing is recovering health. Hearing sincere words from Junho, though very touched, Dong-hoi still wants to clarify one thing. He says that even without Junho's help, he himself would still destroy Nesu organization because that's all he wants to do, not for anyone else. Hearing that, Junho doesn't mind. To him, as long as he can get revenge, the rest doesn't matter. Returning to Junho's headquarters, hearing his close comrade has gradually recovered, Han can finally breathe a sigh of relief. Donghui's situation is temporarily stable. Now the most important thing is helping him recover. As for the immediate future, the next mission belongs to Junho and Han. According to Junho, absorbing Inshin Gang went exactly as planned. The next person they need to confront is the one who stood behind providing money to Inshan, Choi, the leader of W Branch, also the one controlling entertainment areas in Nesu's hands. Junho thinks Han probably still doesn't know this name, because Choi always stays backstage managing Nesu Gang's entire financial source. Their money-making tactics are loan sharking and protection fees. Therefore, according to Junho, the most effective way to strike Nesu is targeting economics directly. To do that, first both must meet someone. The person Junho believes is the key to helping them win victory. The person Junho and Han are meeting is one of the victims once harmed by Choi's gang. To achieve cooperation, Junho committed to ensuring this person's life safety. Speaking of this unlucky youth, he was originally just an ordinary student, but thanks to good looks, he's often praised and flattered by friends. His name is Ki-chun. He started having delusions, convincing himself he was born to be famous. In his eyes, stars are always surrounded by halos, adoration, and money. So his desire to become famous grew increasingly fierce. But life doesn't work like dreams. His social media followers were pitifully few. Despite trying every method, results still didn't improve much. When almost giving up his dream, unexpectedly he received an invitation to attend a gathering of all influential people. Right when desperate, Ki-chun naively believed this is his chance to change his life. Wanting both to learn and ride coattails, initially everything went quite smoothly. Thanks to breathing the halo of famous people, his follower count suddenly skyrocketed. At that time, Ki-chun thought his life finally turned a page. But no, that was just the beginning of a nightmare. Not long after, the people Ki-chun considered friends began showing their true faces. No longer live streams or collaborations to boost engagement like before. They gradually led him down the gambling path. Being a simple person, Ki-chun initially flatly refused the temptation, and so he got kicked out of the group cruelly. From then on, his follower count also plummeted without breaks. No matter how hard he tries creating content, he can't salvage the situation. Once used to living under stage lights, having to return to ordinary life plunges Ki-chun into despair. Wanting fame with just a pretty face isn't enough, so he decided to return, finding those who kicked him out, hoping to be accepted back, just to exchange for fame. He accepted integrating into the group, learning to gamble, indulging in extravagance to fit in. So in no time, Ki-chun transformed into a depraved player, gambling, betting, lacking nothing. And then, the outcome is empty-handed. He squandered all the money his father saved his entire life. While panicking with nothing left, an old acquaintance from the gambling group years ago found him, none other than Choi. That sly fox seized Ki-chun's mental disorder to lure him into borrowing money. From then on, Ki-chun sinks endlessly. Borrow money, lose gambling, then borrow again. Calculated to present, the skyrocketing debt has reached 5 million won, and to pay it all off would take at least 10 years. Only now does Ki-chun gradually realize the whole truth. Choi is the puppet master behind it all, specializing in luring young people craving fame, then turning them into debtors, puppets serving them. Though understanding everything, Ki-chun no longer has ability to resist. Negative thoughts keep clinging to him, causing his spirit to seriously deteriorate. Even so, according to Junho, Ki-chun doesn't need to worry anymore. Those exploiting others' dreams to turn them into debtors are just garbage. And soon, Junho will make them pay dearly for what they've done. Not taking too much time, Junho convinced Ki-chun to join his plan. Like every time before, Ki-chun just needs to play a gambling addict. Everything else, Han will handle. Going back a few days, initially, Ki-chun refused participating in Junho's risky plan, because after everything he experienced, he doesn't want any more entanglement with Nesu organization. However, Junho thinks if he truly wants to escape Nesu, then his plan is the only way. Junho's goal is collapsing Nesu Branch's entire gaming system. Of course, Junho doesn't ask Ki-chun to work for free. On the contrary, he commits to absolutely protecting his safety. But the real reason Ki-chun risks participating lies elsewhere. He's promised to receive half the money he earns gambling with Junho's money. Right when Choi's lackeys were confused, he suddenly brings piles of money, offering it directly. Ki-chun's greedy appearance makes Choi's lackeys drop their guard even more. They happily lead him in. Back to that earlier moment, Ki-chun was very confused. What connection do betting and making Nesu collapse have? At that time, Junho explained that the whole group will use gambling itself to drain money from Nesu. he also has his own way to help Ki-chun win. According to Junho, theoretically, the house can never lose. But from what Ki-chun told him, he noticed something abnormal. Seems like the games have been rigged by the house. In other words, Nesu's cheating to sweep players' money clean. Already suspicious of Nesu's transparency, before hearing this, Ki-chun becomes even more furious. Even so, he still doesn't understand. If betting is the opponent's trick, why does Junho proactively put himself into it? This is precisely the crucial point in the plan. The whole group will exploit the enemy's cheating tactics to counterstrike. Junho thinks betting always comes with strict rules. Just catch the house cheating red-handed, and all money on the table gets confiscated. Of course, Ki-chun can't do everything himself. When the enemy starts acting, Han will be the one to expose all their schemes. No matter how skilled Nesu is, as long as Han gets involved, all dirty tricks will be exposed. Thanks to that, Ki-chun can leisurely rake in cash from the very hands of those who once deceived him. Junho understands very clearly the enemy won't easily let them win big, but with Han's presence, no matter how numerous or fierce the opponent, everything will be resolved quickly and cleanly. Conversely, if opponents refuse to continue playing, Han will also have ways to handle it. Everything unfolds exactly as Junho calculated. Getting pushed into a corner by Han's punches, Choi's lackeys have no choice but to continue the bet. Following the script exactly, Han just needs to expose the cheating tactics and give them physical punishment strikes. Everything lies within Junho's prior calculations. Though this method's somewhat heavy-handed, clearly Junho's still playing very fairly. So what he's most looking forward to now is seeing Choi's face when discovering he ate a devastating blow. Back at the gaming headquarters belonging to Nesu's branch, in just one day, all of Branch 2B and District 5 managed by Choi have gone bankrupt. Facing such heavy losses, Choi must admit Han and his team's true capabilities. Through the reckless friend, finally Choi had a chance to meet Se-hun. But instead of threatening, this guy shamelessly bows, apologizing to Se-hun for using schemes to bring her here. According to him, Choi currently has a lucrative business deal and wants to negotiate privately with Se-hun. Accordingly, if she agrees to reveal Junho's plan, Choi will pay her triple what Junho's paying. Hearing about money, her eyes light up like headlights. Se-hun immediately nods, agreeing without needing to think. Unable to catch up with her face-flipping speed, Choi nearly faints when Se-hun proactively sends her account number, demanding immediate transfer. Though outwardly showing he likes Se-hun's straightforward personality, Choi still doesn't forget to warn. He emphasizes if Se-hun takes money, then lies, he'll have his subordinates send her to the afterlife. His two capable right hands, Marcus and Diego, with faces cold as coins, stand behind as confirmation that threat isn't just talk. But Se-hun only smiles brightly upon receiving money, since she never planned to lie. Right after she immediately started checking Junho's latest plan, she starts counting down from 10 to 1. Initially, Choi still doesn't understand what game she's playing. Not until Se-hun counts to 1 does he realize, in shock, Junho's latest plan. Han's about to attack directly at the entertainment branch headquarters. But by the time he realizes, it's too late. Just as the word leaves Se-hun's mouth, Han already appears. Even knowing doesn't help Choi change anything, because now he must face the monster named Han. In another corner, Ki-chun seizes the opportunity to ride the main character's coattails. Finally, after everything, he's waited for Revenge Day. Because standing beside Ki-chun now is a Han nearly impossible to defeat. No matter how numerous opponents are, the outcome for those small fries is returning to the sea. With superior strength, like coming from another planet, Han quickly turns Choi's lackeys' gang beating into child's play. Witnessing subordinates successively entering collective oxygen breathing mode, Choi finally realizes, from the start, he never had any feasible plan to confront Han. Not taking much time, Choi must face the expensive consequences from Han's affectionate punch, a lesson for delusional strength from someone not skilled at fighting. Right after that punch, Choi immediately shrinks and orders his two capable right hands to charge forward. The moment getting green light, two foreign guys fiercely tear their uniforms, preparing to deathmatch with Han. Marcus and Diego are now both ready for battle. On the surface, everything still seems within Choi's control, but actually, he's just trying to appear calm while inside already churning. Sweating bullets, he decided it was time for the ultimate tactical maneuver, running for his life. He didn't care if he looked more pathetic than a drowned rat. He'd trample over his own team just to reach the exit, because he knew better than anyone that his subordinates were all bark and no bite, basically cardboard tough guys with glass chins. Though 2-on-1, the gap between genuine class and trash can't be bridged. In no time, the two fools collapsed, unable to withstand a few moves. Moving with blinding speed, Han put them both face down on the pavement before they even realized the fight had started. As for Choi, while the two subordinates are struggling to buy time, he sneaks away like a talented dog. As someone who climbed to Nesu system management without using fists, relying only on calculating mind and money, Choi trampled many strong people to get today's position. Though completely failing against Han this time, he's still confident he'll soon find ways to handle that monster cleanly. Back inside Nesu Branch Entertainment headquarters, after being fed dirt instead of rice, two fools completely transformed into obedient pups. The initial tough image no longer exists. The two foreign lackeys now only know how to hug each other, posing stupidly for Sehun to photograph as souvenirs. As for Han and teammates, the campaign to overthrow W organization initially achieved encouraging results. Though letting the big fish named Choi slip away, Han and Sehun don't really care. Before the campaign closes, Han and company just need to put in a bit more effort to track down and smash to pieces that rat Choi. At headquarters, information about Choi fleeing has reached Junho's ears. Even so, he doesn't see it as a serious problem. Han just needs patient waiting because in no time, Junho will drag Choi out of his hole. Sounds confident, but actually Junho's still very cautious. He understands clearly Choi's not easy to play with, and though he's a rat, must still catch him early to avoid unpredictable variables. As for Choi, though somewhat losing face having to scramble away, that was actually a wise decision. He's not foolish enough to rush headfirst fighting a monster like Han. According to Choi, there's a much simpler way to eliminate Han without lifting a finger. Right now, with powerful support from his associate, Choi just needs to give orders, and his companion firmly believes Han will soon disappear from Earth. With just one enter button, all information about Han is immediately pushed onto the underground betting network system Nesu operates. Accordingly, anyone who kills Han will receive a huge reward of up to 2 billion won. From this you can see, revenue from W branch casinos is just the tip of the iceberg. The real income comes from illegal betting websites. Choi's secretly operating with a network of over 87,000 members. That many people will now focus attention on Han because his life's been bounty hunted at sky-high prices. However, only fools wouldn't realize that with 2 billion hanging overhead, Han's not someone ordinary people can easily touch. Choi understands this clearly, so he thought up bonus rewards to stimulate demand. A reward board is established, clearly graded from low to high. Depending on damage level inflicted on Han, players will receive from 500 won to 80 million won. Not stopping there, anyone registering to participate in the mission also gets gifted 50,000 won immediately. Regardless of success or not, just daring to try earns money. This way, even Choi can't imagine how many people will participate in hunting Han. From young to old, female to male, even beggars, all attracted by the huge bargain named Han. Therefore, Choi firmly believes Han's death is only a matter of time. Not long after, when the betting system just opens, bounty hunters already start acting. The first person to approach Han is actually a middle school girl. Initially, she pretends mistaking him to spark conversation with Han, but the moment seeing the opponent shows signs of dropping guard, she immediately pulls a knife from her bag, silently approaching from behind, planning a fatal strike. As for Han, though attacked suddenly from behind, he still timely reacts before the middle school girl's overly careless strike. Money right before her eyes but can't take it, the girl angrily curses. Out of nowhere, getting dragged into a manhunt just because he's too valuable on the underground market, Han doesn't understand what's happening when suddenly attacked by another person from behind. Thinking this will be an easy job, the helmet-wearing guy can't help falling backward when Han not only dodges the strike, but uses bare hands to block the blow aimed straight at the girl's face. Terrifying. That's all the girl student can think about Han right now. With just a hand flick, Han makes the baseball bat stab straight into the rude, uneducated helmet guy's face. With that counter, he scares the girl student's soul to the clouds. Right after, she immediately bows apologizing and confesses the whole truth. According to her, Han's currently bounty hunted on a betting site for up to 2 billion won, so countless people will rush to profit from his life. Learning he's priced like goods on the underground market, Han quickly guesses the one behind this dirty trick is none other than Choi. However, what puzzles him is most people hunting him are just civilians. That makes him wonder if Choi's still scheming something else. Elsewhere, Choi and his associate are extremely excited as the Han assassination plan unfolds smoothly beyond expectations. The number of people registering to participate in the mission keeps increasing, making his partner overjoyed. Earlier, he's still worried about the plan's success rate. Though adding numerous attractive rewards, reality shows just having money is enough to drive people crazy, and he feels he worried unnecessarily. Contrasting that excitement, Choi's completely calm because everything unfolds exactly as he calculated from the start. He even reveals why out of all industries, he chose gambling. According to him, gambling turns people into miserable, yet extremely obedient creatures. For example, if offering a corporate chairman $2 billion to kill someone, that guy will only look at you like trash. But for those who lost everything through gambling, that amount is an impossible dream worth betting their lives on. Additionally, once addicted to red-black, their minds will numb, thinking will deteriorate, and morals will almost lose meaning. Therefore, such people will become loyal dogs for Choi to command. Back to Han, though surrounded on all sides, he still easily dominates attacking civilians, wave after wave. Even a child risks ambushing Han, hoping to change their life. Unable to bear striking children, Han shifts direction toward a car, rushing toward him. With clear strength difference, the moment the driver sticks his head out, Han immediately charges and captures him cleanly. While Han's still busy dealing with money-crazed people, Junho also managed to call. He reports knowing the entire situation and has sent people to support. However, to Han, having support or not doesn't matter. Instead, he just needs Junho to quickly send Choi's location. The rest, let him handle himself. As for Junho, he's truly furious that enemies dare stage assassination in broad daylight. Without delay, he immediately orders his department head to mobilize all forces to track down Choi. Meanwhile, waves of people attacking Han continue increasing exponentially. Not only that, according to his observation, Han realizes surroundings are full of ordinary citizens. Instead of counterattacking, he utilizes the alley terrain to jump high, easily escaping the encirclement of people red-eyed over reward money. But thinking he escaped disaster, Han falls into another trap. This time, he's locked in a sealed room full of people, equipped with weapons. Not hard for Han to deduce the one behind exploiting citizens to lure him here is Nesu's lackeys. But to Han, this situation inadvertently becomes a perfect opportunity to vent anger. Frustrated with no one to relieve stress on, now he has a whole group of subjects for physical exercise. Outside in the Gangara area seems quiet, but inside, a true massacre is occurring. No matter how numerous enemies are, they can't create difficulty for Han. On the contrary, Nesu's lackeys are no different from sandbags for him to freely unleash strikes. Witnessing a monster sequentially sending each person to the scoreboard, Nesu's mob can only turn pale as frogs meeting boiling water. Initially, they thought 2-on-1 would at least cause injury. Who knew? They don't see any limping, only smell incense wafting everywhere. The fools haven't prepared mentally yet when it's time to greet ancestors. Fortunately, right when Han plans issuing bridge tolls for everyone, he receives a call from Junho reporting Choi's current location. Without delay, another second, Han immediately leaves that place, heading straight toward the hiding enemy. Seeing opponents approaching, the fools panic, no longer maintaining their initial fierce attitude. Just Han's footsteps are enough to make Nesu's lackeys sweat like rain. The closer he gets, the more people tremble, praying to heaven they won't end up on the chopping block. Luckily for them, right now, Han only cares about making Choi pay, not bothering wasting strength on small fries. However, this rat hunting journey seems slightly more arduous, because he's still within Choi's sights. Knowing clearly Han isn't easily defeated, Choi secretly prepared a much grander stage. To ensure eliminating his opponent, he brought to Han's location an army 10 times larger than those just defeated. With such overwhelming force, both Choi and companions believe the legend named Han is about to end. Excited, Choi's associate even enthusiastically proposes handling Junho too to finish things off. Seeing his partner's enthusiasm, Choi claps praising, even adding 500,000 to his salary to encourage Four Eyes' work spirit. Not expecting earning money is this easy. Four Eyes quickly gets to work. Thinking everything will be thorough like Han's bounty, as Junho's image appears on the screen, Choi praised his partner for always being prepared. Who knew that guy did nothing at all? Junho wastes no time mocking Choi for falling right into his trap. The shock makes Choi freeze several seconds before waking up. Junho tracked down his den. Right at climax, the entire system suddenly gets attacked. Though Choi tries urging companions to fix the problem, the system's been completely controlled, making Four Eyes also completely helpless. Contrasting Choi and companions' worry, Junho is now extremely smug, reporting that due to terrible security system, he easily infiltrated and seized control. Not only that, Choi made a serious mistake, daring to apply to Junho the exact tactic he previously used to defeat enemies. Right now, Junho decides to turn the tables, using Choi's own dirty tricks against him. In a flash, across all betting websites that Choi manages, information and images of Han, previously bounty hunted, get replaced, And the new name put on the hunt list is none other than Choi himself. After everything, for the crime of stupidly playing games with Junho, finally Choi also gets to taste a deeply humiliating, self-inflicted blow. As for Han's side, battle still continues intensely with continuous gift-giving of physical strength to Nesu's lackeys. Conversely, when Choi's subordinates discover the website system got hacked and rewards transferred to Choi's head, they immediately turn tail and flee to escape. Also, because there's a cowardly rat needing handling, Han doesn't bother chasing small fries. As for Choi, less than a minute after becoming bounty target, waves of money-hungry people already tracked him down and quickly found him. Getting role swapped too fast, Choi panics, ordering his partner to take all money and flee. His goal now is only one: escape at any cost, then think about revenge later. Right now, no matter how precious money is, to Choi, life is still top priority. As long as surviving this trap, he believes he can rebuild everything from new website to new lackey army. He tells himself, I can soar back to the top anytime. Carrying that lofty thought, he freezes, staring as his partner actually flies away in the wind. Confused by what's happening, his partner crashes straight onto him. The impact knocks Choi off his feet, and he hits the ground hard. Before recovering, Choi panics even more, hearing a familiar voice behind. That's Han, the person he absolutely doesn't want to face right now. In a situation of 1,000 pounds hanging by thread while blocked by monster Han from behind, the cowardly rat's heart feels like exploding from fear. Knowing clearly there's no escape, Choi tries standing tall, threatening Han with arrogant tone. But in Han's eyes, big-mouth people aren't lacking. Everyone already laid under his feet. So not bothering to argue, Han straight up gifts Choi a thunderous kick to the face, never having to meet anyone this crazy in nearly 20 years living. Choi's scared enough to immediately turn and run. But turning back isn't the shore, but the ocean. In just moments, Han caught up, grabbed his hair, and pulled him backward, falling. This time, Choi truly has no escape route. As old habit, he plays the bribery card, begging for mercy, trying to persuade Han to let him go. But to Han, money or benefits have no meaning right now. So despite opponents' pleas, he still coldly unleashes a decisive kick. The kick makes Choi hurt to the core, but he still thinks the money he offered isn't enough to buy his life. So he continues proposing triple what Junho paid, as long as Han lets him escape. But escaping here doesn't mean going home, but going to hospital. Han immediately sends stray dog Choi with a complete kick, ending all his final delusions. Helpless when verbal negotiation has no results, ragged dog Choi drags his broken body to Four Eyes, hoping to find a final life raft. With no other way, Choi scoops a handful of money, stuffing it straight in Han's face to prove, your daddy has lots of money. Thinking the money wave will make Han waver like someone once did, but unfortunately for Choi, this time he dug his own hole. Finally realizing his bribe won't work, Choi falls to outright begging for mercy. Han stares at him with a terrifying glare, then simply turns away. Choi can't believe it. Han actually spared him. But karmic law spares no one. Only now does he realize in shock that the money he thought was salvation actually became fuel, igniting the nightmare. The people rushing at him now aren't strangers, but precisely the debtors he once exploited. Now, the people he once treated as slaves are trampling his body mercilessly. Karma doesn't wait. Choi once spent 2 billion hiring debtors to take out Han. Now, that very money has turned on him. His own debtors are coming for him. Turns out, poison bites back. After driving the enemy into the depths of despair, Junho's assassination plan for Choi is officially concluded. Just like that, the campaign to purge W Branch has been completed perfectly. Back at Junho's headquarters, according to lawyer Bigon's report, Choi needs at least 14 weeks to recover. The moment he's discharged, he'll immediately be processed according to proper legal procedures. Exactly as predicted, all accounts Choi used have been frozen. Simultaneously, those who worked for him have also been arrested. Receiving victory news, Junho doesn't hesitate to praise lawyer Bigon's efficiency. With such powerful contributions from his associate, Junho feels extremely satisfied because he believes right now Kim Ono must be burning red with frustration from having his money source from Choi completely cut off. In another development, at the hospital where Choi's being treated, Kim Ono quickly came to visit his companion. Though extremely furious inside, Ono's outward appearance still shows cheerfulness and calm when talking with Choi. However, Choi fully understands Ono's cruel nature, so the moment they meet, he hurriedly sends thanks for the get-well gift, hoping to somewhat soothe the anger. But seems like he underestimated Ono's coldness. To Ono, What matters isn't Choi's health, but the money that flew away without wings. Therefore, despite earnest apologies, Ono only shows a cold smile, then squeezes Choi's hand to assert dominance. He doesn't care about Choi's pain at all, because apologies aren't what he needs. What Ono wants is for Choi to continue being a workhorse, to pay back every penny lost to him, not missing a single cent. Back to Donghoi. After a long treatment period, he's finally allowed discharge. Before leaving, Donghoi doesn't forget to send sincere thanks to the nurse who cared for him this whole time. In response, the nurse also advises him to live better, avoid meaningless fights. Though understanding the good intentions behind that advice, Donghoi still can't guarantee he'll completely abandon fighting when necessary. After all, this world's still full of garbage people out there, and right on the way from hospital returning home, Donghoi already has his answer, because he witnessed a group of thugs bullying a student in broad daylight. Even as the victim begged and cried, they were ready to rip out his 2 front teeth. Fortunately, when the bully's attention starts shifting toward Donghoi, the student temporarily escapes disaster. One guy in the group angrily approaches, planning to intimidate the stranger, daring to interfere. But before opening his mouth, he immediately receives a loving kick straight to his mouth from Donghua. The remaining 2 get furious seeing their companion hit and immediately rush in to settle scores. But contrary to their reckless appearance, Donghua is just testing his stamina after recovery, and nothing's better than using 2 thugs as test subjects. Just one kick to the face, the blonde hits the floor. The remaining guy, though very scared, hasn't reacted yet when Donghoi gives him another exchange from above, sending him flying straight to meet ancestors. After the real combat test, Donghoi realizes his form still hasn't reached its former peak. Therefore, he decides to increase training intensity, because 530 pounds still isn't enough to satisfy. As for the thug crew, since they haven't caused trouble in a while, getting schooled is natural. One guy in the group, after looking closely, recognizes the person who just cleaned them up is Kim Dong-hoi. From that, he's certain the rumors about Han and Kim Dong-hoi are true, and those 2 legends are truly returning. Speaking of Dong-hoi and Han, in the past, both were names that shook the whole country, dubbed the strongest fists of their era. 2 years ago, Han's crew once clashed with Nesu organization and created a legendary tale. From then, they became the focus of attention across the entire nation. And now, when branches like Incheon and W consecutively collapse under the 2 underworld legends' feet, the names Dong-hwai and Han once again blaze powerfully. For many, this is just entertainment, but for others, it's a threat and source of fury. However, for those living in isolation and getting bullied, the return of these 2 is the only ray of hope in their dark lives. Moving to Kim Ono to deal with the storm named Han's crew, he's forced to travel all the way to Mandong's territory seeking help. The moment stepping into the building, the chaotic scene of students fighting for power on each floor appears clearly, but absolutely nobody dares step to the top floor. And the reason's very clear. The one reigning there is Mondong, a true monster, to the point even Nesu's final boss must personally come find him for help. Out of nowhere, Ono comes looking, making Mondong somewhat guess the rumors about Han's return have basis, especially when even Nesu's leader personally appears at his place. That only confirms Han's still as domineering as before. Seems precisely because of that, Mondong also starts getting interested in this event. As for Ono, he needs a worthy opponent to face Han, and the name he chose is none other than Mondong. Mondong doesn't hold back. He remembers exactly how Ono treated him 2 years ago, not as an ally, but as a disposable tool used to crush Han. Now that Han is back in the picture and posing a threat, you're suddenly looking for a reunion? However, Ono didn't come empty-handed. He explains that due to forced circumstances, he had no other choice. This time, everything's been arranged thoroughly, and as long as Mondong agrees, Ono will fulfill any conditions he requests. Not knowing how desperate Ono is to be this generous, Mondong probes, "You said anything, right? Then I hope you're ready to stand up, because I'm taking that Nexus throne for myself."